93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
What in the hell do you think you're doing?
Hey, John Boy.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. A pick six for the Maniac. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. Yes, sir.
Was kept alive by Oladipo. And Sabonis with a left hand.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, local Hoopster fans had a pretty good night last night. I mean, for moments in both games, it looked as if it wasn't going to turn out that way. But for both IU and the Pacers, Pacers completely worthy of you staying up. And I am betting more than a couple of you. Listen, I understand this. Somebody's got to figure out how everybody in unison will be able to watch the Pacers, because I probably more than just the games that are actually going on. When you go back to Saturday night against the Knicks or last night against the Pelicans, I probably hear more about those that are unable because of their restrictions or battles or conflicts between providers. I probably hear more about how you're not watching it than you are. That's problematic. That's something somebody's going to have to figure out ASAP. Now, I'd be griping about it more, I'm sure, if it directly affected me, but I feel for you, too, because I probably get more tweets about that than I do about the game itself. And, man, did you miss a humdinger last night of an ending. Now, I give the Pacers full credit. They're down 10, 2 minutes to go. I'm thinking about pulling the plug on it, too. You had Oladipo miss a three. You had Justin Holiday miss a corner three, which could have pulled them within one possession. And I was kind of like Chris and Quinn last night. I'm going, yeah, that may have been their opportunity. And then Vic drains a three, gets a steal, may or may not have traveled. I say not. And probably more so than anything else, didn't lose it. I mean, stayed calm. I think he got it to Brogdon. Brogdon made that extra pass to Miles, and Miles buried the three. You know, they're doing that without Sabonis because he had fouled out. I'm telling you, last night, that crew came to call some fouls. They were about calling some fouls. And it was funny. I'm not suggesting that the fouls they were calling weren't all accurate. It was weird. It seemed like they missed the really bad ones and called the really stupid ones. Anybody else gather that? And I'm not sitting here whining and crying about the officiating. I'm not trying to get blocked by anybody or anything stupid like that, but that's how it felt to me while watching it. Seemed like that they missed a lot of the obvious ones and made a lot of the stupid ones. You know? A lot of the ones that really weren't. But that was a hell of an effort. Hell of an effort all the way around. Get into overtime. Brogdon hits that game winner. I thought the last thing that they needed was a double overtime. Miles had fouled out in the overtime. But Miles played really well. Miles on the defensive end. Give credit where credit is due as well. He was on the defensive end doing work still with 5 fouls. And one of the not-so-subtle differences you've seen in Nate Bjorkgren over Nate McMillan so far is how he will leave guys in with 2 fouls. He left Miles in the first half with 2 fouls. He got his third. I know I sat there with everybody else going, man, maybe you should have yanked him. But, you know, in situations, he had 5 fouls, and it seemed like Miles played forever with 5 and still was defensively as useful as he normally is. So he was still going after it with 5. So that was fun last night. You watched IU. Trace Jackson Davis picked it up in the second half. Yeah, I know it's Maryland, and Maryland fades late in games. We have seen that. But, man, that Penn State game and that Maryland game, and I say this and still everybody laughs, although I will say this, I think more and more now most of you are on the same page with me. When I say must win, by God, it's must win. I'm not lying about this stuff. I'm not making it up so everybody can laugh and everybody can make fun of me. I'm saying that for real. I've said that about the Colts in week 1. People laughed. Well, look how that worked out. Look how close that was. And then I said that about IU and Penn State, and then added the situation with IU and Maryland last night. Simply put, that's what was necessary. You got to get those wins. You did. No Boilermaker matchup later on tonight because of COVID situations, I guess, with Nebraska, with whatever. They're going to reschedule that at some point. Pacers back at it coming up on Wednesday, and we're edging closer and closer. Remember, this week, the Colts are going to play early. I'm going to fire it up at about 1:05 coming up on Saturday, and we're going to give you all you need to know about that matchup with the Bills. Has anybody seen anybody out there that has selected the Colts? And I'm not suggesting anybody is wrong. Anybody seen anything at all from anybody nationally that has thought maybe the Colts could spring the upset? Because I think it is, for the most part, it's pretty much Buffalo all the way around here. Now, we'll make our selections as we get closer, but I mean with good reason. We were talking about that a little bit earlier today. Hey, shout out to Robin Miller. Robin, Steve, Ralph, and Kyle went with me today. We had an awesome lunch at the Workingman's Friend. Shout out to Becky at Workingman's Friend. They don't have their normal capacity, but they're following the CDC recommended guidelines. And let me tell you this, the cheeseburgers are still the absolute best. You can't beat it. And you can't beat it at lunch sitting there with R. Miller holding court and telling some of the most fantastic stories of all time. I think Kyle Udemark may still be a little bit scarred from a couple of them. But it was awesome. Absolutely awesome today. I got some new gear from R. Actually, go to my Twitter account at JMV1070 and check out that the new T-shirt is just beyond awesome. You'll love it. But nah, man, R. Miller, Workingman's Friend, it was a damn good Tuesday lunch right there. Shout out to Becky at Workingman's Friend as well. Again, they're not working at full capacity because of the guidelines and the protocols that are going on right now, the rules, restrictions, but they're doing it and they're still getting stuff done there. And it's still awesome and still the best. And shout out to Tony Patterson, former L&M, Purdue, and SMU star that I saw in there as well earlier today. It was a damn good day. You got to check out that Twitter, though. Check out the Twitter of the picture with me and R, the new T-shirt. I promise you guys will want one. Outstanding. But we were talking about this matchup coming up on Saturday, and I guess Buffalo seems to have a great deal more options. Now, I mean, ultimately, anything can happen. I think we all understand that. But, my particular take on this, if you are able to not just establish it, because, I mean, hell, anybody can establish a run, right? And you can say, well, establish it, but they need to sustain it. They not only need to sustain it because Buffalo struggles. We'll have to look at the numbers. I know defensively they're middle of the pack. Offensively, they're second in the NFL, and that is going to be trouble. But defensively, they're middle of the pack. So you can sustain, if you can sustain a run. And if you if you're Frank Reich, if you're able to sustaining the run, if you know what I mean. I mean, sustain calling the plays that help the offense sustain the run. And don't get, as we've called it before, and I think everybody else is kind of joining, cute. You get cute. You get cute in this game, and this team's going to sing you a lullaby. I think we all understand that. So if you're able to not just establish, everybody establishes or tries to, but able to sustain with Jonathan Taylor. And I don't think necessarily it comes down to whether you have snow, which I think it's supposed to be windy, which if it's got a gusty wind, to me, that plays more against the Colts than it even does the passing attack of Josh Allen, because Josh Allen has, that laser rocket arm and, 17 doesn't. But if you can sustain it, and if you're the Colts offensively, if you're able to do that and you hang with it, what that does is it gives that much-needed comfort to your quarterback. I mean, you get a defense that is, they may be upper middle of the pack, but they've certainly been nothing to write home about. I kind of look at their secondary as more daunting than I do anything else. But if you get those guys a little bit off by virtue of being able to run the football and have success doing that, then you give 17 the opportunity to get in that category that we've talked about all year. And this is when this offense is at its best, is when he's comfortable in it. When he's making those rhythmic throws, I think you feel pretty good about this offense. When he's trying to make stuff up as he goes, when they're trying to win it on his arm, that has not been good. That normally, especially against a good team, that is not a recipe for success against a good team. And Buffalo certainly is a good team. So we were talking about that earlier today, and that's where you absolutely start. I mean, you start with, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist or, Newt Rockney Jr. or anybody like that to come up with this, great deal of this is what needs to be done. That clearly needs to be done. Like I mentioned, Buffalo offensively has a lot of options. I mean, they have a lot of options, spread the ball around, run the ball, do a lot of different things. I mean, you would expect them like they did against Miami. I mean, Miami was a defensively known team. And, man, Buffalo just went up and down the field against them. Now, Miami picked them on that first drive, picked Josh Allen, but all in all, Buffalo did offensively what they wanted against the Miami defense. And again, maybe not a great defense, most noted for as a team, a 10-win team, playing defense. And Buffalo took it to the woodshed this past Sunday. Buffalo offensively has options. They have a lot of options. The Colts, to me, don't have a great deal. But again, they have a way around this. And that way around it is sustainability, that way of remaining competitive. And when everybody during the week, and you can, put blinders on and earmuffs and all that stuff, but there's no way in the world these guys cooped up and locked up wherever they are not going to see or hear things about them. And when the entire NFL community nationally is just saying, well, this is just going to be one of the easier calls of the Super Wild Card weekend, Buffalo's moving on. You hear a lot of that. I think the one thing you want to do from a Colts standpoint is hang in it, remain competitive, and then because you're dealing with a team that has not had a great deal or a certainly past 5 years storied history of success, then you start questioning what you're doing, questioning your lack of execution. Gives your defense a little bit more of an opportunity. Yeah, it's not quite. People say, well, you kind of want to muck it up. I don't know if you want to muck it up because that means that you're not executing. You might be a little bit dysfunctional on the field as well, and I don't think the Colts can have that. So I wouldn't say muck it up. But if they're able to control what they want to do offensively, and I do believe that's where it starts. I mean, they have guys defensively, we'll talk to one tomorrow, and DeForest Buckner, that certainly have a skill set. But to me, this game is going to be more on what the offense does. What Buffalo puts up 31 a game. What do the Colts put up? 20, 26, somewhere in that neighborhood a game? Was that their average this year? I mean, I know Buffalo puts up 31. What I'm saying is if you have an offense that hangs with, or if you have an offense that spends a lot of time with the football while also having success, that will tend to put pressure on a team that has yet to really, other than this regular season, taste a great deal of that success. Get that doubt seeping in a little bit. And it's not going to be your average type of thing. I mean, this home field advantage, like I'll give you a great example. Like Lambeau is incredible home field advantage even without fans, to me. I don't think Buffalo's the same thing. Now, with wind, whatever, but I don't think Buffalo's the same thing or even close to the same thing as that. So you're not having that work against you if you're the Colts.
Buffalo 31.3 points a game. The Colts are 28.2.
28, so they're only 3 points off per game. You know, we can argue who they played and what they've done and all that. But they have an offense that's capable of hanging in. They have a defense that's capable of creating turnovers. These are things that this is going to take coming up on Saturday. You know, and I listen and I've heard people talk about, well, you know, this is a ridiculous path, you know, there, and what about, you know, Kansas City, who cares? I mean, you think about, like, everybody in the NFL is so good about playing the game that's on the schedule or playing in the moment or whatever. There is no better time to shout that philosophy. Because if I'm a Colts fan right now, I'm not really worried about what you did or didn't measure up to this year. Like yesterday, I even felt compelled and felt kind of bad because it's just the nature of it. We start talking about next year and things like that while, you know, they still have a game in play. That's just kind of the nature of sports talk in general, and it makes perfectly good sense, but it's still kind of odd. I mean, last year, it felt natural. It felt natural because that was the direction in which they're going. This, you still got a game coming up on Saturday. It's just that most people are going to hear at great length what Buffalo is capable of doing and probably will do that will oust the Colts quickly. And I'm just here to tell you how they can, again, sustain competitive edges on both sides of the football. I mean, against a huge favorite like that, it's important. You know, I brought up yesterday, you know, this team playing a complete game. I don't know if all of a sudden they're going to jump out of the phone booth and play a complete game because it seems like it's been so long. But maybe if not a complete game, maybe not the prolonged lulls. And what I mean by that is, you know, basically the entire second half of the Steeler game and a lot of the second half of Sunday against Jacksonville. Just stay away from that lull. Stay into a groove. Hey, listen, if Buffalo's defense is able to take you out of that and you have to react to it, change things up, then so be it. But getting cute and changing it up on your own, that to me is a postseason killer. Yeah, adjust to it. It's one thing. I mean, doing it on your own for the sake of doing it on your own, what do they call it? You know, outthinking yourself. Some suggest the smartest person in the room, whatever. Once you discover something, and hopefully that's the run, maintain that. Yeah, work with that. And then let that doubt seep into the mind of, you know, a team that hadn't had a great deal of history being in this type of situation. And I'm not going to suggest the Colts are playing with house money because they still have expectations. I mean, they still have expectations. Their owner have expectations. I'm sure their owner's expectations are much more than even what, to this point, with 11 wins, they've accomplished this year. But create a little bit of doubt. Sustain what you're doing. Have your defense. I think others will probably tell you differently, but to me, this is offense because it's Buffalo's offense. I think in Buffalo, it's going to be tough, I think, for the Colts defense to stamp out all of what Buffalo is trying to do offensively. They've just been really good. You're going to have an offense that it may not keep up, but certainly it's going to be in the zip code somewhere, competitively speaking, to make it interesting late. And then you take your chances and you see what happens. If you guys want to discuss that, let's do it at 239-1070. Email address, jmv at 1070thefan.com. Inside the lounge on YouTube Live, I have yet to venture in there, but hopefully everybody is having a stinking blast in there right now. We have a lot to get to. Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, coming up at 4 o'clock. We'll talk about Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor since what game, Kyle?
Since the Green Bay game.
Since the Green Bay game has been right there with Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook. Those are, I don't even know if there's much of an argument, the two best running backs, the two most feared running backs in the NFL, one in the postseason, one not. But certainly in that category, and the Colts rookie has been right there since the Green Bay game. We'll crunch some of those numbers with Sam coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. And JJ from Fox Sports Indiana, he's going to join us, and we'll talk about last night's game. If you decided to turn it off, if you went to bed, I completely understand, but you missed a doozy of an ending last night. And it wasn't just one dude. I mean, it was a sprinkling of everybody. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, and maybe nothing is there, but there's always been kind of that conclusion, that theory that maybe Oladipo and Brogdon aren't on the same page and aren't together. I mean, I don't know, and nobody has really told me, but I will tell you this. Last night it looked like they were. And I would fair a guess, even going back to that New York game where his game wasn't very good, where he didn't play very well. Oladipo giving Pacer fans right now a reason to feel good. And again, as we talked about before the start of the season, if he continues to raise his game, that gives the Pacers options. I mean, feel good options. That's the best case scenario. And I had mentioned this also before the start of the season. My one thought is, and I don't think Nate Bjorkgren is going to wave a magic wand and everything is going to be great or anything like that, but my thought had always been you had a group that reportedly, that was told to me, for the most part, was ready to move on and wanted a different direction, wanted to be coached from a different angle. They got their wishes. It's up to them. But it seems like that whatever Nate Bjorkgren so far has been cooking, they all pretty much dig on eating it. At least so far. So as I mentioned, maybe that's a reason. Maybe if Oladipo raises his game to a point where you guys would like to see him back for the foreseeable future. Maybe that is a pull factor in the thinking longer term, wanting to be coached by that guy, enjoying to be coached by that guy. It seems to me, I don't know about this, two things. When Malcolm Brogdon talks after games, especially after successful games, two things stand out. He really does and really is politicking for the current head coach. I mean, he is outspoken about the current head coach and is also swiping at the former head coach. Those are two things that stand out every time. These guys wanted this. And to this point, it seems like they're embracing this. Another great example I have regarding Miles last night. I've been trying to impress upon you the need that Miles has on this team. And if it's not obvious to you right now, then it's never going to be obvious to you. I mean, there's some folks out there are just jacksticks that I can't get to. But I think most understand that by now. But I thought last night was a big moment because it was starting to be one of those Miles games. I mean, 7 points and 3 fouls, 7 points, 5 fouls, and you're looking up and you're wondering, oh, man, what? And his head coach did hang with him. Said, you go out there and play your normal game, be aggressive. I know you got 5 fouls, but go out there and play. And that's what he did, and it worked out. Because he was huge down the stretch. And more so than just that made 3 that tied it up at the end of regulation. I mean, he was big. And maybe he didn't block shots. I think he only had 3. Maybe he didn't block them. But they knew he was there. And it's not a stinking layup line like it is when he's not in there. That's a not-so-subtle change that I've seen so far. Again, it's really early, but this is something these guys wanted. And they're not going to tell you that, but I think enough people around that cover that team know. Most of those guys wanted that change. And it looks like that to a man so far they're embracing it. A long way to go, but we shall see. All right, 239-1070. Email address is jmv1070thefan.com. On Twitter at jmv1070. Inside the Lounge on YouTube Live. All right, we'll talk Bills Colts. You guys go ahead and bring that to me. Get your thoughts on that. Play off of some of the things I brought up. If you want to go IU Maryland last night, we can. If you want to impress upon me your thoughts on the Pacers and that overtime win over the Pelicans, we can do that. And the NCAA tournament. And I was told yesterday that the Holman Center wasn't done. People were asking me, why the Holman Center not in the mix here? I guess because they weren't asked to be in the mix. I wish, because I'm an Indiana State guy and I love the TH. I wish that it were, but I read quotes that Sherrod Clinkscales, their AD, said that they were ready, willing, and able if the offer was there. It does disappoint me a little bit. I think the Holman Center would be pretty awesome if they were able to utilize it. But let me tell you this. Coming up March is going to be stinking awesome around here. Awesome. Unprecedented territory. I mean, it's not like we have to shout from a bullhorn how great things are and how everybody holds a great event around here. I don't have to be your civic pride director. I mean, everybody knows what goes on around here with folks. Everybody knows to the level in which this place will hold an event. This is going next level here. I mean, even hosting the Super Bowl was incredible, and you got incredible weather, a great game, and all that crap. But this event's next level because not only is it downtown, but it's around amidst a pandemic. It's in Bloomington. It's in West Lafayette. Pretty awesome. And, Greg, I completely agree with you. That's why with the Colts defense, it starts in the secondary. See if you can turn Josh Allen over. I'm right there with you on that. To me, it starts with being able to sustain offensively, and you do that with a run. But this is what I had mentioned earlier. The Colts' calling card in that secondary, at least for most of the season, has been turning the ball over. And to me, that's going to be key coming up on Saturday. We'll get to that, your calls, and a lot more. JJ, Sam Monson, Greg Rakestraw on this particular Tuesday, 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's JMV. The largest and best medical hair restoration clinic in the Midwest is now open. PAI's We Grow Hair Indy new office is on the first floor in the Pyramids Building number 2. This is a great time to get your hair and confidence back. Here's Darren Andrews to explain what you'll find in We Grow Hair Indy's new facility.
We look forward to seeing you at our larger and more spacious facility. We now offer more comfort and space to help you grow your hair back. From the Artist Robotic FUE and our trademark procedure multi-unit hair grafting to the new FDA-approved Synetics lasers and PRP. Rest assured, we have the technology and experience to give you the best results.
Do what I did. Call 888-724-5129 for a free in-person or virtual evaluation right now. Call 888-724-5129 and see my results at WeGrowHairIndy.com. That's 888-724-5129. WeGrowHairIndy.com. Grow your hair back today.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Michael. But since he is so focused on growing his career, we hired an actor to read his story.
If you want a job where you get out as much as you put in, Geico is the best place to work. Plus, we promote from within, so there are no ceilings placed on your opportunities.
They even offer parental leave to full-time employees. So there's nothing stopping him from going all the way to the top. But not too high. He's scared of heights.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy. The new year is here. Let's get it kicked off right with a cash-out refinance. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
For the second time in 3 years, the Colts are postseason bound.
An 11-win season, a wild card spot, and a trip to Buffalo.
If you're running the ball like that, how are you not converting third downs? That's puzzling.
The 60-minute product the Colts have displayed for the last 4 or 5 weeks, that ain't getting it done in Western New York on Saturday.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Weekday mornings at 7
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. The Ride with JMV. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. We'll focus in on the Colts to this point of their matchup with the Bills coming up on Saturday. Now, how the hell does this work Saturday morning? We start at 10, but I think we only start on 1070 at 10, and then we get the full double FM AM signal at 11 or something like that. I'm trying to read that. There's a lot of words up there. Words. 10 a.m. with me, Gorman, Joe Wrights, Bill Brooks, coming up on Saturday morning. Rakestraw and Smidge, Monson, JJ, Jonathan at 239-1070 up first today. Jonathan, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I am great.
Hey, man, I want to talk a little bit about the Pacers last night. I was really impressed with what they did overall, especially in the closing moments of that game where they were down 6 points. Did you take a look at that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about that already extensively, but go ahead.
Yeah, the trap on, the last defensive play for me was just the game. That was all coaching. That was a huge coaching change from Nate McMillan last year to Nate Durham this year. Because I've never seen Nate McMillan call anything like that at the last.
The thing that stands out to me so far, there haven't been a lot because, we saw some moments. I think it might have been in the Celtic game that they lost that first loss where Bjorkgren left guys in there rotationally too long, or those are things that we blamed Nate McMillan about before. But last night, leaving Miles in there first with 2 fouls, and he left Sabonis in there with foul problems too, and letting them play through it. I thought last night especially that helped get them the win, and it certainly helped Miles. And you can tell, and it looks like, and they should. Honestly, they should. They wanted the change, so they should be, quote, buying in, and it appears like to this point they are.
One more point I want to point out before jumping off here. You can tell the absence in what we used to see T.J. Warren.
Yeah.
As I look and see what Aaron Holiday did as a star last night, only putting up 3 points, having 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Jonathan, for the call. Justin has been good. Aaron has not. I think he had a second half 3 for a little feel-good moment. But, yeah, that's just part of the help you're going to end up needing long-term without T.J. Warren in there. But last night was pretty enjoyable. I tell you the one thing. Anybody else? If there's one thing that we always kind of laugh at, take for granted, it's what? The NBA after a make inbounds pass. And is there anything more glorious than watching T.J. McConnell bait guys that are throwing lazy-ass passes inbounds after a make and getting a steal? Seriously, you can say what you want about, T.J. McConnell, what you want about, backup point guard, whatever. That is glorious. And that helps everybody else, too. That fires everybody else up. Plus, it normally leads to an easy attempt. It may not happen every game, but it seems sure as hell like it happens every game. That, to me, is most fun. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Greg Rakestraw, he joins us right now. What time are you guys plan on going on? You're going to have an afternoon gig coming up on Saturday, I guess.
I basically have what I would normally have on a Sunday, just one day earlier. So yeah, 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Hopefully you're talking about good things as well. I kind of put out there so far my thoughts on what keeps the Colts in it. And I think what keeps the Colts in it is what they're able to do offensively. Because to me, they should be able to put some points on the board. If Buffalo is able, with their middle-of-the-pack type of defense, to limit that is going to be problematic. But to me, to be able to keep it up and not just, start a run or, establish the run, but sustain it. I mean, this has got to be a sustainable thing to where that run affects the level of play of your 39-year-old quarterback.
The best defensive player the Colts have on Saturday, John, wears number 28. Jonathan Taylor to have a huge day and keep Buffalo's offense off the field. That's not bagging on the Colts defense, even though they have not played as well lately as they did earlier in the year. No, that's a nod to how well Josh Allen is playing and the weapons he has at his disposal for that Buffalo offense. So the best do is give the ball to number 28 early and often come Saturday afternoon.
What's been the most what's the biggest impression you've had on Taylor? To me, I go back to, a game where he fumbled and then he was benched. They said he wasn't benched, but I think we all understand that he was benched in that particular game. But to get up off that proverbial mat and then to provide since that Packer game, I mean, the level of offensive production that's in the neighborhood of Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook at that position in the NFL is well more than I think most Colts fans thought he was going to be able to do as a rookie.
From the unique perspective I have, and you get to have it as well up in the press box, what I saw from Taylor early in the season was he was missing some openings. He just wasn't seeing things well or things or trying to read too many things at once. And seemingly after that fumble, things have just clicked for him. There's these to be able to run through, and rarely does just one player bring him down. But to me, the biggest improvement, the biggest reason why his yardage numbers have blown up, even more than just opportunity these weeks, have been because he's picking the right hole or he's reading it quicker and getting to it quicker, because I thought he left yards on the table when he was getting the ball early in the season. That's not been the case from December the 1st on.
No, it hasn't. He's been incredibly impressive, and I would agree. I think certainly in this opening round that he holds the key if the Colts have any opportunity whatsoever in advancement beginning Saturday.
They do, and I think given how well Buffalo has played offensively recently, I think for the Colts defense is one of those days where, hey, keep them in the 20s, keep them south of 30, and then the question mark is, can the Colts offense produce 30 points? And if they can do that, they have a shot to win come Saturday afternoon.
What do you think this team is right now as far as the bar? And what I mean by that is 11-win team. Yeah, that's an impressive season, without a doubt. I think most anybody would take 11 wins in an NFL campaign. But where is this bar with Rivers? Do you think it's near the ceiling as far as what this team is capable of doing with him as the quarterback, or is there still some room to maneuver?
I think there's still some room to maneuver. Obviously it took a while for he and T.Y. Hilton, but now that has happened. Still the numbers aren't gaudy as it used to be for T.Y., but he's a much bigger part of the offense for the course of the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season. There's the continued nature of the offensive length better. John Taylor gets through it.
Hey, Greg, hold on for 1 second here. You're cutting in and out. Can you get to that spot in your home where it's foolproof right now?
Well, I'm outside. In the ice and snow.
Sorry, dude.
Because I think that's where you can eat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're cutting in, and I just want people to be able to hear your points you're making. So you are cutting in and out.
Am I in a better spot now?
You sound good. We'll have to hopefully maintain, like the Colts running game on Saturday. Hopefully you maintain. Go ahead.
Exactly. So in other words, is there room for growth in what Phillip Rivers can do with this team? Yes, I think so. But I also what are the like for him next year. In other words, I think by the time you get to this point in the season, you are what you are, and it's about maximizing what you can do. Do I think Phillip Rivers can be an even better quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts next year? Do I think Phillip Rivers for the Indianapolis? Yes. I think he's going to come back for one more year and play an 18th season and his second with the Indianapolis Colts. So I think there's room for growth, but as far as, what's going to happen on Saturday, I think we have a pretty good idea what that formula for success and what their capabilities are going to be.
No doubt about that. We're trying with that signal. There are moments when it's feel good, and then moments when it's not so much.
Sounds like my days at 9:50, John. I understand that completely.
No, you may have to. I don't know. Do you have any aluminum foil? I don't know. Clothes hanger. Stand on one foot. Got anything out there?
I pitched my tinfoil hat years ago, John. Unfortunately, my conspiracy theory hat has gone by the wayside at this point in my life.
Let's take advantage really quick of the time we have left and your signal power. As far as the NCAA tournament being here and all the venues, which is absolutely awesome, do you think this all ultimately works as both the NCAA and Indy hopes it does?
Yes. In other words, what you're basically asking, NCAA tournament. And I think, yes, there's going to be an NCAA tournament. I don't know if we'll have a big level of fans at the tournament. I'm not sure if things will improve that greatly in the next 2.5 months. But do I think we will have a successfully completed NCAA tournament in venues that are all within the metro Indianapolis area? Absolutely, John, I do.
I'm really excited about it. Honestly, for example, I think Blake and I are going to follow Gonzaga around a little bit if we're able to follow them around a little bit. It's just it's so unique. And I know that others outside this market probably don't get that particular excitement that we have. But, man, basketball lovers rejoice around here. I mean, even if you can't go out and enjoy these, and hopefully some people will be able to, even if you can't, it is still such a unique situation. It's awesome for a basketball-loving state like this.
I am happy for the hotel folks in Indianapolis who have always taken a beating like virtually everybody else has across the country. I'm happy for those guys. I'm happy for the universities that are involved. I'm happy for Indiana, Purdue, and Butler that they get a chance to showcase that venue. I love for the fact at the Indiana State Fair that they get to show off what is a wonderful building not enough people know about in the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. Folks, that they're going to get this moment in the sun. That's the groups that I think fit the most from this.
I can't wait to. Hey, how many Indiana schools, really quick? Indiana schools will be in this tournament in Indiana, in Indianapolis in March.
Not many. Let's say a couple. Let's say Indiana and Purdue. It's not Butler's year. I don't think it's Notre Dame's year either. And I know that Indiana, but I do think they will get the benefit of playing in the Big Ten in a year where you barely have any cross-conference games. The weight of the Big Ten is going to work for each of those two teams. I'm not sure I see any of the Indiana teams winning their other leagues. Obviously Indiana State, Evansville, Valpo, IU, UI, Purdue, Fort Wayne. So let's say two, Indiana and Purdue, make the NCAA.
So Greg Rakestraw, he's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do about the signal? You're doing all you can there in your backyard, brother.
That's exactly. We may just have to make this a standing date where I'm in the studio with you every Tuesday at 3:30.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's been good recently. Just today, not so much for whatever reason. I don't know.
My best signal already broken on you.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. It's Greg Rakestraw, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I don't know what it. I mean, the dude lives around Broad Ripple. You guys have a hole in your coverage up there, or what? Ripple. Come on, Ripple. Hey, JMV, thoughts on seeing more packages with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines in there together? I don't mind that at all. As I've mentioned all year long, and it seems like they've finally started to, on the reg, figure that out. The most you can have Nyheim Hines out there, the better. Because outside of Jonathan Taylor's recent playmaking, basically since the Green Bay game, your biggest threat is Nyheim Hines. So I would think you would want those guys to have opportunities at touches and targets as much as possible. I agree. Hey, JMV, have Rake rub some CBD oil on his phone. It'll help with the reception. Are we still with CBD oil? We're just kind of sitting waiting around until they legalize weed around here. So, I mean, you could really, right now it's just kind of, CBD oils work for me, but it's almost like when it comes to CBD oil and legalizing marijuana, the state of Indiana is kind of just spooning right now. You know? You know what I mean? You're kind of doing it, but you're not doing it. And I think we all know that kind of doing it's never enough. Now, I'll be dead and gone by the time that's legalized and people are able to make money off of it like they're doing sports wagering right now, which has worked out smashingly to this point. I think everybody would agree. Spooning. That's still something. It was back then. Yeah, you kind of are, but you're not. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's got it's got the connection, but yeah. The CBD oil did help me sleep. I will say that. Helped me sleep a lot. Yeah, that's not bad. Seems at some point you're going to move on. JMV, we lived through Buffalo side for years with Manning here. How many times were the Colts huge favorites and felt the pressure and choked when things didn't start out right? Well, I think offensively, if you're able to create second thoughts, again, by being able to sustain, and through sustaining the run, helping your quarterback at the same time, to me, that's logical that you can have some success. Have some success, hang with it, and see what happens. All right, calls on the other side. Sam Monson, top of the hour. JJ talks about that OT win by the Pacers down in New Orleans last night. It's kind of funny. I think I saw the Pacers tweeted out, Big Easy dub. Did you see that? Big Easy dub. And I think one of the first responses to it, oh, yeah, that wasn't easy. That was a grind. So, Big Easy dub is what was said. And I think it a highlight of Brogdon knocking down that shot for the win. Big Easy dub. And then one of the first responses, well, it wasn't that easy. It was a grind. I think you guys get it. Like, Big Easy is a nickname for New Orleans where they played. They weren't saying that it was a huge, easy win. And that makes me laugh. Quick one, your calls on the other side. I mentioned Monson JJ coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. YouTube Live is in effect right now, and I'm pointing my finger at all of you. Hello. If you guys want to jump in, participate in the conversations, listen, watch, whatever, you can do that. YouTube Live, The Lounge, The Ride with JMV. Back with you guys, your calls, tweets, emails, messages, stuff like that. Next.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's John here for Heaven Hill Distillery. It's our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots postseason edition. Super Wild Card Weekend edition. So me, Brent Halverson, have our picks, and you can join us for a great time. I'm so excited about this. We are going to be Thursday, North Keystone at the Mousetrap. Who is up for a Thursday afternoon with us, free-flowing cocktails, which what I mean by that is If you ask, we're going to give you a cocktail with us. Free-flowing cocktails at the Mousetrap coming up on Thursday. You'll get our picks, and we'll have a blast. First time we've done a show for the Mousetrap, and I'm excited. That's Thursday. Larceny Locks, Luna Azul, Tequila Shots with Brent Holverson, live at the Mousetrap with free-flowing beverages coming up on Thursday. 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider and are only available if the provider determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. You pay just $30 for a month's supply. And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/real. That's right, free. Zero copay, no expensive appointments, no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Hims connects you to doctors online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. And a pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/real. That's forhims.com/real for your free online visit. forhims.com/real.
Set a realistic resolution this new year, like making sure your hair looks like $1 million at Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men in Greenwood on State Road 135 just north of Smith Valley Road. It's wicked awesome.
Go trackside with Kurt Cabin and Kevin Lee. Tonight at 7 on The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Say, man, you got a joint? No, not on me, man. It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So, first time in forever, Browns fans cried when they finally punched their ticket back into the postseason on Sunday. And you know, you couldn't have a postseason with the Browns finally without some stuff. So head coach Kevin Stefanski, 2 additional members of the coaching staff, and 2 players tested positive for COVID. They will not be available for the AFC wildcard game against the Steelers Sunday. And Stefanski has done a really good job. I mean, that Cleveland thing was a mess. I mean, Freddie Kitchens and everybody was fighting and issues and crap. Infighting, crap talking to one another, disappointment. He straightened that out, and now you finally get back to the postseason, and then this. That is incredible. I'm sure not a lot of you are surprised by. I mean, you're not getting surprised by anything anymore. JMV, why can't the Pacers have fans at games at Bankers Life, but Mickey Mouse can have fans for Disney on ice next week at Bankers Life? The NBA decides that, I believe, right? I don't know. They had fans. They don't know. I don't know. How many can the Pacers have right now? Do they have anybody in there?
They have
just the fans?
some family of employees in there right now.
They had people in New Orleans last night. How many do they have? We'll have to ask JJ at 5. How many are allowed for Disney on Ice? I was not aware of that, Chad. I wasn't even aware of Disney on Ice. The only thing I knew coming up besides Hoop at Bankers Life was that Christian rock concert or whatever coming up here this winter. Yeah, I forget who the hell it is. Oh, I can't say it. I wouldn't be a good Christian rocker. I think you guys already know that. Jim McCann, Southern California, writes this, JMV, I agree with you about the Colts offense, but equally important, the D cannot afford to play a soft zone and allow Allen to hit open receivers underneath. I think one of the big keys is having Kari Willis hopefully back. The safety's too far off to help stop the running backs or Allen when he escapes up the middle. Hashtag JMV sucks. Thank you. JMV, with the tournament being local and still 2 months away, there still could be a chance the case counts can lower and more fans could be let in, obviously. Or it could go the other way. And I tend to want to side with your particular take here. I don't like to dwell on the negative. Too bad it's not at Ball State or an arena and post-game beers. The chug would be amazing. And the one thing about it, I prop up the Holman Center. It's got a Hilton Garden Inn right across the parking lot. And a couple of bars right there. You got the Ballyhoo within walking distance. Hell to the yes. That's got me excited. Alas, it will not happen. Eddie in Silverdale, Washington writes this. How great is Ballard? Amazing that he was able to sign a left tackle this late in the year and get such a good performance out of the position. And Eddie, I would agree on this. I mean, Valdir held up nicely against Jacksonville. Now, Buffalo is a hell of a lot different than Jacksonville. But, yes, you are right to find a guy that was coaching high school football that hadn't played. That was nice work, and they needed it. And hopefully that he can hold up at left tackle again. Hey, JMV, I cut the cord a couple of years ago on the YouTube TV because Fox Sports Indiana, now I can't watch the Pacers games. And see, you guys that have YouTube TV are the ones that are doing the complaining to me. That's exactly what I've heard. I swear to you, I get more. I can't watch the game, and it's exciting, and it bums me out than I do. I'm watching the game. That's problematic for a variety of reasons. I mean, that's problematic for Chris and Quinn and Jamie Burns and JJ and Eddie Gill that do the broadcast. It's problematic for advertisers. That would stink. There's got to be some common ground somewhere, you would think. Quick one, we'll come back if you're on hold. I'll get to you. JJ 510, Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. All that you need to know about the numbers, about the incredible rookie season of Jonathan Taylor, and Colts' chances in Western New York coming up on Saturday afternoon. Sam Monson's next.
Sports with Dan Dakich.
Seth Greenberg. Hey, can you go somewhere you can talk to us? What do you respect?
Coach, are you co-opting the interview for some steps?
You're giving us all this info, and I got trucks backing up. You're panting. Respect the show.
I'm actually walking a path, but you just have to do a little construction on this path. Now you hear me better now?
Yes.
It's always the AirPods. The AirPods always undercut it.
Crush, Coach.
Dan Dakich, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, it's that time of year again, and I really hope you got a AAA membership for Christmas. If you didn't, it's not too late, because extraordinary times call for service that is essential to your health and safety, and AAA has been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure their members are covered. And especially right now, 97% of all travel is being done by car, and I'm so glad that I've got mine. When I leave the house, I know AAA's got my back, but even more importantly, I know that AAA has the backs of my wife and kids when I'm not around. So if there's a flat tire, you run out of gas, dead battery, even if you get your keys locked in your car, AAA is going to be there to take care of you. And it's so easy to become a member and get that peace of mind. All you have to do is call 844-GO-AAA-GO or go to AAA.com. That's AAA.com. And when you do, how about asking for a quote with AAA's auto, home, and life insurance? Because you don't have to be stuck on the side of the road to get assistance from AAA. Again, AAA.com. Or 844-GO-AAA-GO. That's 844-GO-AAA-GO.
Hey, JMV here for LD Smith Plumbing. Have you already called out a plumber? And unimpressed was your thought about the knowledge and skill set the said plumber had, or maybe even the shock. You get that sticker shock and you go, what? With the price tag. You need to call my guy Lance at LD Smith Plumbing for a free. Did you get that? Free second opinion. I promise I've used them. They're great. I love Lance and the crew at LD Smith Plumbing. You will too. LD Smith Plumbing is a local company that can tackle any issue, big or small, for you, and they're following CDC recommended guidelines. LDSmithPlumbing.com, 317-284-9526 for that second opinion, and tell them I sent you. Must provide competitor invoice for free second opinion. Details, once again, LDSmithPlumbing.com today.
It's a new year, time for a new mortgage. How much can you save? Find out now. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WFNI, WIBC, HD2, W298BB, WIBC, HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Wednesday's Fan Morning Show features the Hall of Famer Bobby Slick Leonard. We'll preview the Pacers and Rockets game, and we've also got the latest injury report for the Colts and Bills wild card playoff game. We'll see you at 7.
The Ride with JMV.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Second play of the possession. Rivers, ball in the near hash, hands off to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor made a man miss at the line of scrimmage and then runs it into Paydirt from 45 yards out. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! Jonathan Taylor, have a day, over 200 rushing yards.
Matt Taylor, Colts Radio right there. Background music, brand new Foo Fighters, No Son of Mine. 93.5, 107.5, 1070. The Fan, Ride with JMV. Jeremiah Johnson, Fox Sports Indiana. The 5 o'clock hour, your calls and smidge. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus lead analyst, podcast host, and so much more. How impressed have you been, and what do the numbers say about the rookie season, especially since the Green Bay game for Colts rookie running back Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, he's been impressive. Jonathan Taylor was a guy that we really liked coming out of the draft. He was obviously an incredibly talented running back and one of the most complete players in terms of, just everything he could do. But you started to see it towards the second half of the season that the team began to trust him more in passing downs, and that's when those guys really start to kick on in terms of an increased role and what they're allowed to do, what they're being permitted to do. So obviously his PFF grade just for running is impressive. He's right up there with the best graded rookie running backs in the NFL this season, but he got the bigger workload because he started to get trusted on those passing downs that he wasn't necessarily given earlier in the season.
In a world that we're talking about, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I know he was drafted in front of him. DeAndre Swift was another guy, I think. Who else are we talking about here? Just thinking about some of these running backs that were also a part. Cam Akers was another guy. He split, I think, between 2 other dudes in L.A. to start the season. Is it without question right now that you would rather lean on Taylor in this rookie class at running back for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor is still the one you would be most confident in, just backing up the priors, where we thought he was as a prospect, what we've seen after their rookie seasons to potentially change those opinions. We haven't seen anything from Taylor to suggest that he's a worse player than we thought he was. And, there haven't been, I don't think anybody else that would have jumped over him after that first season. James Robinson, the undrafted rookie from Jacksonville, obviously is the guy that catapulted his way up everyone's estimation. But yeah, I think Taylor is probably the safest bet of this group going forward.
It's Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We've talked a number of ways that the Colts can hang in and challenge in this Buffalo Super Saturday wild card matchup coming up this Saturday. Crunch some numbers for us, if you will, because I think in a large scale, a great deal about Buffalo and the Josh Allen-led offense. What about top to bottom, the way this Buffalo defense has looked in 2020?
It's an interesting matchup because I think their defense, it's got a weakness against the run, but in part it's designed. They're happy to let you run the ball all day on them because that way you're not putting the ball in the air. It's almost like a design feature of an analytics mind. They know that the run game is generally less impactful, less dominant, less explosive than the passing game. So if you're going to run the ball all day on them, it means good things are happening for that defense in terms of not giving up those big plays. So they kind of invite that, and I think that's where the Colts right now are strongest, with that offensive line dominating the past couple of weeks, with Jonathan Taylor running lights out. It's an interesting matchup because I think it's what both teams want to do. The Colts would be perfectly happy to establish the run and be able to lean on that all day. and the Bills themselves will be happy enough if that's the way that side of the ball goes. And it becomes interesting because then you start to really chew some clock and you start to play this ball control kind of offense, and then you just need your defense to be able to win a couple of turnovers or even just stall a couple of drives out, and you're in business. But right now, Buffalo's offense is absolutely cooking. Josh Allen has made an incredible leap forward this season and is playing as well as any quarterback in the league right now. The receivers are good. They're varied. They're deep in terms of how many of them they have. It's a really difficult offense to try and slow down.
Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus is with us. How effective has that Buffalo defense been in getting after the quarterback? Because if there's one thing I think all Colts fans completely understand, that Phillip Rivers has been good when he's comfortable and rhythmic. When that is taken away, he hasn't been. How efficient has Buffalo been at getting after the quarterback in 2020, Sam?
Reasonably. For years their pass rush has basically been Jerry Hughes and nobody else. Jerry Hughes is still the leader in terms of pressures for them, but he's got some help now. They've got a few other guys that can push the pocket, that can rush the passer a little bit. Guys like Mario Addison, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Justin Zimmer. Those guys have all got 20-plus pressures on the season. So they can get after you a little bit. It's not one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL, but they have enough to be able to cause you some problems.
Yeah, I think that's the overall worry. I don't know if the numbers bear this out, Sam, so you can tell me. I'd always been more impressed when I've watched them with the Bills secondary than what they're doing up front defensively. Is that truly the case?
Yeah, they've got some really good players on the back end. Obviously, Tre'Davious White, a cornerback, is the sort of superstar of the group, but the safety duo of Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde are both really good safeties, versatile players that can kind of line up everywhere and do a little bit of everything. And then whether it's been Levi Wallace or Josh Norman, the other cornerback has had good and bad days on the other side. But yeah, the secondary is definitely talented and capable of making a lot of big plays.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think the Colts like to stay away from turning over the football, and that's what happens when pressure gets on Rivers and he feels uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you, if you saw that pass, he was picked off against Jacksonville on Sunday, and that thing looked wide open at the beginning, but it took the ball so damn long to get there that he had two Jacksonville Jaguars of the secondary converge and one picking it off. So those are the situations all Colts fans want to see this team stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really the story for this team is Phillip Rivers can't make those mistakes for them to win. Rivers, I think, has played well largely this season, but he's sort of playing on a knife edge or on a tightrope constantly, and he's always just a potential mistake away from that critical error that costs them in a big way. So that for them to have a chance of progressing beyond Buffalo, they're going to need a good Phillip Rivers game where he doesn't put the ball in harm's way and cause a turnover.
Yeah, what do you think about this game overall and the chances that the Colts can hang in there?
I mean, right now, I just don't think there's a better team in the NFL than Buffalo. I think, over a 16-game schedule, in a vacuum, whatever, you could say Kansas City or somebody else. But in terms of form, in terms of the team they are heading into the postseason right now, I don't think there's a better team in the NFL than the Buffalo Bills. And the Colts are going to need everything to go right for them to even hang with them, let alone cause an upset.
Yeah, I think most people would agree on that, certainly. When you look at the Colts season, and I know we're not writing it off yet, but I know that you were firmly against Phillip Rivers at the beginning. 11 wins later, where Phillip Rivers and this team is now, and is there any more of a ceiling, or is this thing, as I've told you, they've ideally wanted to bring Rivers back for a second year, even though he's under a one-year contract? Do you think that that's doable and or feasible for Phillip Rivers to come back as a 39 or 40-year-old quarterback next year?
I think it is. I think he's shown this season that he's not completely cooked. Clearly, he has limitations, and he's not the player that he once was. You're not going to get that great Phillip Rivers season, I don't think, out of him the way he certainly was capable of at times for the Chargers. And the bad games are ugly. The bad games have been problematic, and they've been games that have cost them wins. But outside of those, he's played well. And, it's a ridiculous thing to say, right? If you eliminate the bad games, he's played really well. Right. That's true for most quarterbacks. But, Rivers more than most, if you do take away the bad games, you get a really high baseline of play. He's still capable of some extremely high-level stuff, and it's been good enough to get them to the postseason, which it wasn't when you had Jacoby Brissett starting with a similar roster. So, Rivers, I think, gets you over that hump. He gets you to the point where if you have a good roster, he can take it to the postseason. And then the question becomes, when you run into teams like Buffalo and Kansas City and, the best teams in the NFL, does he have enough in the tank still to get them over those games? That is more of an open question. But if this team just wants to get to the dance and then see what happens, I think Rivers isn't a bad option.
See, and I think that's more problematic is what you bring up, and that's something that I brought up here. It's one thing to win 11 games and be where you are as a 7 seed right now, as they even added that 7 seed, and without it, you'd be on the outside looking in. But where you can go, because the expectations, and I know this to be true from the owner, but the expectations are going to be higher. So just kind of a dart at a dartboard throw, if you would, right now. Rivers, or, if you feel like you can still win right now and you're not going to draft somebody to play in the now, you want to bring in somebody that's already established and has that NFL resume. I mean, would it be worthy of really checking into trying to trade for a guy like Matthew Stafford, maybe somebody else out there? Would that raise the bar, in your estimation, for this Colts team more so than what they have in number 17 as a 39-year-old in 2021?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I'd also be intrigued by some of the options that are going to be available without needing to trade for them. Guys like Jameis Winston are going to be hitting the market again. And, Winston might not be a significant downgrade from Phillip Rivers, and he'd be a lot cheaper. So if the plan is, we're not going to be able to get a truly elite quarterback this offseason, we're going to be working with some variety of good to above average quarterback, would you rather pay Phillip Rivers $20+ million or a fraction of that for Jameis Winston? I mean, he signed in a backup role with the Saints for like $1 million this season. He wouldn't cost anything like that, and I don't think there would be a significant difference. Stylistically, they're very different, but I think overall the quality of their play is going to work out about the same and give you a similar shot of making the postseason and winning. So I think there's going to be a lot of options, and the thing standing against Phillip Rivers the most might be how much he costs, just his contract.
What's it going to take to get Matthew Stafford? And do you think that with that complete changeover at the top, that's what the Lions are going to want to do here in the offseason?
It's difficult to tell. You can definitely construct an argument that Stafford has never really had an offensive-minded head coach and a guy that's capable of surrounding him with the sort of talent and scheme and things that make his life easier, the way a lot of quarterbacks have in the NFL, the way a lot of quarterbacks get to work with. On the other hand, you can look at Matthew Stafford's career and say, this is just a guy that threatens or pretends or teases better things that never quite materialize. And you get these stretches of play where Stafford looks incredible, and you get these single throws that are absolutely mind-blowing, but he's just never able to put it all together for a run of 16 games and take you to somewhere special. I don't know which way the Lions are going to fall. Obviously, they're invested in this guy long-term as a sort of face of the franchise and, a legend within that building. But a new guy might take a look at his career and say, he's just never going to get to where people think he should be, and we are better off moving on and starting afresh at the position. And then if that happens, obviously there'll be teams interested, because even if the Lions, the new regime, decide that, there are going to be NFL franchises that buy into it and look at what he can do and think that they can get that out of him.
All right, some of the other things discussed around here, I don't necessarily think that the Colts would go this direction, because I think edge rusher and then looking in the future for a left tackle is something they're going to have to be doing. So I'm not I'm not kind of down with people suggesting they would draft a quarterback. And we know the story with Trevor Lawrence, and certainly to a degree we know the story of Justin Fields. But starting with a guy like Zach Wilson of BYU, for example, what other first-round quarterbacks or second-round quarterbacks may, in your mind, be passable for a longer-term quarterback option if the Colts, for whatever reason, decided to go that direction, Sam?
I think there's a lot of them this year. Obviously, you're right, Zach Wilson will be the next guy on that board. He may even sneak up into that number 2 spot ahead of Justin Fields, depending on where people project him. He's actually got the highest PFF grade of any of those quarterbacks this season in college. He's gone on an incredible ascension given this season and really taken himself right up to the top of those rankings. Trey Lance, the North Dakota State quarterback, is another guy that I think will go pretty high in this draft as well. And then you start getting into the guys that are lower down but are in that group of first and second round options. You know, Kyle Trask from Florida is a guy that a lot of people like. Mac Jones from Alabama. This is a very strong quarterback group, I think. And I think there's going to be a lot of players not just taken in the first round, but there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks taken even second and third and beyond.
I know that there's still going to be a lot of time in how they end up handling the combine and, you know, pro days and things like that. But did Kyle Trask, did his stock get altered or damaged at all by virtue of the way that team and that offense played around him without a lot of dudes in the Cotton Bowl?
Probably not. I don't know that it affected it that much. I think this has been a weird season generally obviously for college football with the COVID and everything that's happened. And I think people are probably going to trust what the evaluations that they had more than they usually would in previous seasons.
Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What do you think happens with Carson Wentz this offseason? Does he stay where he is?
Yeah, I still think that's the easiest and most logical option for everybody involved. His contract is so onerous to get out of. It just seems very difficult to believe that the Eagles would want to get rid of him and move on. I also don't think that they've got many great alternative options. You know, as much as Jalen Hurts flashed some ability, he didn't play that well overall, and certainly can't have played well enough for them to be convinced that they can turn to him and get rid of Carson Wentz, knowing how painful that will be for their cap situation. Clearly, you know, Nate Sudfeld is an option. Maybe if the draft falls the right way, now that they have the 6th overall pick instead of the number 9 overall pick, if they'd won that game, maybe they are tempted into one of these quarterbacks we just talked about in the draft. And then all bets are off. Then I think that changes everything. But right now, I think the easiest plan for them is to try and put Carson Wentz back together again over the course of the offseason and return with him as a starter.
All right, before I let you go, it looks like that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP, rightly so. Mahomes is certainly in that group. What about Derrick Henry? When it comes down to guys that are most valuable and the most valuable in terms of their team's success, where's Derrick Henry rank on that list?
I just don't think he can ever be in the same kind of stratosphere as quarterbacks. And I think you can make a pretty good argument that he's not even the most valuable player on that offense that Ryan Tannehill or even A.J. Brown is. You know, as much as Henry gets all those yards, breaks all the tackles, gets the yards after contact, we've seen what happens when the quarterback situation there is worse. And Derrick Henry can't get those yardage because the quarterback affects how the defense lines up and how they play against them. So when Marcus Mariota was quarterback and playing badly, Derrick Henry was like the number 11 ranked rusher in the NFL. Then Ryan Tannehill comes in and basically since that point has been playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL, albeit with slightly different roles and responsibilities than guys like Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. And that's when Derrick Henry became this 2,000-yard rushing monster and the best running back in the NFL. So I don't think that Derrick Henry is ever going to be as valuable as a guy like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, or, as I say, even his own quarterback.
You think which one of the three – I mean, you already answered the question regarding Derrick Henry, but which one of the two, I guess, Mahomes or Rodgers, are more reliant on the weapons around them? Because clearly Kansas City has more with Mahomes. It seems like that Rodgers makes something out of guys more so than Mahomes. It's not a shot. It's just a way that it looks. Is that the way that it bears out with the numbers at PFF?
Yeah, probably a little bit. I think you have to lean towards Patrick Mahomes supporting cast between the receivers that he has, between the offensive mind working and pulling the strings, and Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. I think, he's probably in a better situation overall than Rodgers is.
So Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Best weekend? This is awesome. The Super Wildcard weekend, I think, is pretty genius. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of the format.
I can't wait. Hey, you've been awesome this year. We'll have a lot of questions. Win, place, or show coming up next Tuesday for sure for you. Stay after it as always. I hope you had a great new year, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday. Hopefully not for a final time, too.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
You got it. Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus. Andy Moore, Automotive Group hotline. I kind of get what he's saying. So Derrick Henry doesn't do what Derrick Henry does without the contributions of Tannehill and Brown for Tennessee. Rodgers is still capable of doing what he does without the contributions, for example, of Devontae Adams. And he's also suggesting that, like Robert Tonyan from Indiana State, the tight end, his value has been enhanced by virtue of the presence of Rodgers. And then when you look at Kansas City, I mean, it is loaded. Just loaded offensively. And that is kind of a trap question because, as I mentioned, Kansas City is just more loaded at those skills positions than Green Bay is. But that's why Rodgers is a little bit an edge ahead of Mahomes, and why the running back position and Derrick Henry, who's pretty damn awesome to me, doesn't get that level of respect as those that play the quarterback position. All right, 239-1070. Email address, JMV at 1070thefan.com. Hey, JMV, I was just listening to your show and heard you asking about not being able to find the Pacers games on YouTube TV. A little background on what happened. A company, and I've heard Sinclair get cussed before. A company called the Sinclair Group purchased Fox Sports Indiana. After the purchase, they found out that they were losing a ton of money, so they started trying to renegotiate their TV deals with all providers. The greedy blanks wanted way too much money, so Sling TV, Dish Network, Hulu, YouTube TV, and all other major streaming services dropped the channel. I believe Comcast, AT&T, and Spectrum are the only ways to get the Pacers in Indy. My guess is it's a matter of time until the major providers drop them too. So AT&T is me, DirecTV. Spectrum, I don't know what I'd end up doing. And here's what more concerns me. My mom actually switched from Dish Network because of this, because my mom's a huge Pacer fan, and she switched from Dish Network to DirecTV or AT&T just to get these Pacer games. I don't know what the hell I'd do if that was taken away. That would be absolutely incredible. Yeah, thank you for the update right there. But honestly, I hear that probably more so than I even hear about the greatness of the game. People saying, man, I wish I could have watched it, but I have YouTube TV. We certainly have better internet out where we are now. Johnson County Fiber, shout out right there. Johnson County Fiber is a hell of a lot better. We were not able to in the past stream anything. People, my kids would be milking my hotspot all the time because back before Johnson County Fiber got in there in the spring, it was a wing and a prayer out where we live. But it's a hell of a lot better now. So hallelujah there. JMV at 1070thefan.com is the email address. JMV, when you watch IU basketball play, do you get the sense that some guys are afraid and not confident to shoot the three? Yeah, John Martin, I do. I tell you what, when IU, as we saw for a lot of that first half, when they're bad offensively, you would rather have a enema/root canal than watch it. That's how brutal it can be. And watching them shoot from distance is brutal. I don't even know if they're afraid. I don't know if they're afraid, John. I think they just understand that they don't shoot it well, and there's not any confidence there. Because, I mean, when you shoot it that badly, it's one thing. Well, you can't make those that you don't take. But, I mean, you can sure as hell miss them. And believe me, it's not like these dudes, I'm sure, aren't practicing them. Can you imagine? I mean, hell, anybody in high school's working that gun. Back in the day, you had to have that little bounce-back type of net deal underneath the goal, and you would shoot, and it would send it back out to you. There's nothing better. It should be nothing better for your shooting at the high school level or any level right now than the gun is awesome. The only thing that sucks about the gun makes you put a lot of air underneath it. Like if you watch Miles Turner shoot and it like goes way up and it takes like 3 seconds for it to come back down, that you can tell that dude looks like he's been shooting with the gun. Because you got to shoot over that net. But this is a group from distance that, other than the occasional game, might find a stroke here or there. Most of the time, you get the feeling that's exactly how it's going to look. And yeah, for the life of me, I don't know. I can't imagine that Rob Finney shot it like this in McCutcheon. I mean, these guys are all used to making it. So, yeah, John, I don't know if I would say afraid. I mean, they'll certainly step into it, but I don't know if they're confident about it going down. And why would you be? Because it doesn't most of the time. And some do pass up opportunities. I'll be honest with you. I probably see less of the passing up of opportunities than I just see guys stepping into it. And maybe it's just because you watch it and they don't go down. You, the viewer or the IU fan, you don't have the confidence in it. But it seems like they're stepping up to stuff already thinking that the thing's not going to go in. But it can be ugly. Offensively, they can be incredibly ugly. And shout out to Trace. Trace stepped it up big in the second half. And they needed that. That was a must-win call. Yeah, I know. Alex says the Packers have 2 Sycamores on their team. Shout out. Hey, JMV, if this blanking Sam guy from Pro Football Focus says Jameis Winston, let me stop right there. This is Bull Blank Free Colts podcast with Harkin. Harkin's a good dude, by the way. Sam, for whatever reason, has been on the Jameis Winston train forever. And I don't get it. I don't get it. But Kyle can back me up on this. For whatever reason, I mean, he was on the Jameis Winston train, if I remember correctly, even before they signed Phillip Rivers. Because we had him on, I think, initially before they signed Rivers. And then when they signed Rivers, he wasn't happy about that. And now he's certainly more on board with it. But that's one thing I don't know. And I guess I should have asked. I guess I didn't care enough to ask why he does embrace Jameis Winston more than probably Jameis Winston even embraces himself. I mean, because Jameis Winston sat ass all season. From John R. Sherrill, JMV, what grade do you give the Grand Park ref so far? I think they're doing a fine job. Fine job. And whenever you guys get my daughter, like you're going to, not at Grand Park, I think she's in Fishers or somewhere on Saturday, but I've got Colts responsibilities and I won't be there. Man, take it a little easy, all right? chill the whistle on her because she's got like 3 fouls before she takes the floor. So just take it easy. Like, unlike her father, she likes to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I don't want you touching me, and I sure as hell don't want to touch you. She's getting into it a little bit. She's got 3 fouls when she comes out there. Remember Jermaine O'Neal was like a rookie and a second-year player out in Portland? And he basically just came in to hack a shack. He already had all those fouls. That's exactly how I feel there. But, no, I think you guys are doing a great job. I wouldn't want to do the gig. I wouldn't. I mean, hell, even the time I got through out over in Brownsburg, it wasn't because I didn't like the guy or was mad at the guy. I just made a smart-ass comment, and then some jackass took it the wrong way. And the problem that you have is when you deal with jackasses, you deal with jackasses. So, and I was dealing with jackass. But it wasn't even the official's fault, so. I mean, you do that. These guys are doing that for 11 games. And I'll be honest, even when my daughter's playing, there is nothing more boring than 11 games of that. I mean, nothing more boring. You'd rather watch IU shoot threes than watch 11 games of that. Nothing more boring. So I get it. And after game 10, you just want to get the hell out of Dodge. So I understand it. But now I think you guys are doing a great job. Well done. Well done, John R. Sherrill. Well done. But I'll cook a book, though. Now, if you see me, if you got girls up there that are playing that are 10, and you see me doing the scorebook, I am likely, and I'm not cooking it on the score. You can't do that, but I'll spread the fouls around if I have to. Don't let me keep that book. All right, quick one, and we'll come back. JJ coming up at around 5:10 today. We'll get to that. And you coming up on the other side. Got a lot of emails to get to. I got some tweets, and I want some calls. Colts and Bills matchup. Pacers and OT last night, a winner. Some IU over Maryland thoughts to the NCAA tournament here. All right. I just hope that they're able to take that ultimate step, and that is to have some fans. Because I want, at this rate, I mean, people are going to be helped. The hotel industry will be helped, but not everybody is going to be helped. I hope and cross my fingers for everybody in this area to be helped out economically from this. That's the hope. Quick break. Back with you next.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
For the second time in 3 years, the Colts are postseason bound.
An 11-win season, a wild card spot, and a trip to Buffalo.
If you're running the ball like that, how are you not converting third downs? That's puzzling.
The 60-minute product the Colts have displayed for the last 4 or 5 weeks, that ain't getting it done in Western New York on Saturday.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Weekday mornings at 7.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, it's John here from my friends, Heaven Hill Distillery. Oh, shout out to Brent Holverson and Randy Strand. That is Larceny Bourbon because we have our Larceny Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots coming up on Thursday. We're going to be at the Mousetrap on North Keystone. We're going to give our Super Saturday and Sunday, our weekend wild card picks, and we're going to be handing out some free cocktails. Man, if there's something we need right now, it's free cocktails, right? So sitting back, enjoying cocktails, and our wild card weekend picks. Thursday, from the Mousetrap, North Keystone, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Message and data rates may apply. Up to 5 messages a month. TNC and privacy policy found at warbyparker.com/terms. Reply help for help or stop to cancel.
Have you ever wondered why eyeglasses cost so much? Glasses have been around 700 years. Isn't technology supposed to get less expensive over time? Well, there's a simple explanation. For decades, the eyewear industry has been dominated by a single company that's kept prices artificially high while reaping huge profits.
Yikes.
Warby Parker was created to change that. They design and produce their own eyewear and then sell it directly to you for a fraction of the price. Warby Parker's high-quality glasses start at just $95, including your prescription. And if you need an updated prescription, they've got a few easy ways to help you get one. Just go to warbyparker.com to try 5 pairs of frames for free. They'll ship them to you to try out for 5 days. If you find a style you like, they'll send you a fresh pair with your prescription. Easy. Go to warbyparker.com to pick your 5 frames to try on at home for free. That's warbyparker.com to get started for free. warbyparker.com.
Start the new year off right and get pre-approved for your new home purchase by visiting thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Wow. I don't know what to say. I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling and making better films.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I do some calls here. Rakestraw Monson Podcast, 1075thefan.com. JJ coming up at 5:10 today. JMV, Sam Monson really brought it today. Outstanding info about the upcoming quarterback class. Did not impress folks with his take on Jameis Winston. I'm not surprised by it. Yaney writes this, JMV, is this the longest stretch that IU has gone without a legit pure shooter? Any idea if Goga will ever play basketball again? I don't know, man. He's over there in jeans a lot. The Green Bay Sycamores are looking good. Yaney, outstanding. Yeah, I was thinking about Goga last night. You know, after Sabonis fouled out and after Miles fouled out. I will say this. I mean, Sampson gives them some good minutes. He gives them some good minutes. But, yeah, I don't know about Go. I know he's 19 or 20 or whatever. I don't know. I wish I did. Hey, JMV, have you heard about the college football title game possibly being postponed a week due to COVID concerns? Colin, that anywhere out there? Nothing at this point would surprise me. Hey, JMV, it's Glenn, your regular listeners. I want a 4-pack to Carb Day tickets your first week back in January a year ago. Obviously, it was a no-go because of COVID. You think you can hook me up with a 4-pack as they become available? Absolutely. I don't know when they're going to become available. That's something else we were talking about. I went to lunch at Workingman's Friend, Kyle and I, with R. Miller and Steve and Ralph, and have a great time and a great double cheeseburger at Workingman's Friend. And we were talking about that very thing. I considering where people suggest we might be at that point, you know, with the pandemic, with COVID, because I think a lot of people suggest maybe things start loosening up in June, I think is what people, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if they moved it back. I certainly haven't heard anything. Nobody knows anything. But there's no way they're going to run that thing without people this year. There's no way. None, zero. So I don't know where any of this is going to fall. I don't know when that's going to end up happening. Yeah, I don't know if we kind of slide even further into the abyss of COVID coming up here after the holiday season. You know, I don't know if it begins to loosen up in the springtime. But I cannot imagine for the life of me that they're going to run a race without fans again. I think most would probably agree with that. Hey, JMV, I'm pretty sure I just heard you say, quote, milking my hotspot. Is that an FCC violation? I don't even know. I have to look up what might entail an FCC violation. I know we probably almost had one a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes I eliminate them here. I mean, you guys, if you're tuning in via the stream or the app, you're going to hear it. But if you're listening over the radio, either 1070 The Fan, 93.5 or 107.5, yeah, I'm pretty good about getting these things. I had to get a couple the other night on the JMV takeover. I had a couple of S-bombs and SOB. The Charlie Daniels song, man. Every time I expect, I done told you once, you son of a. Every time I expect SOB, I get son of a gun. And at this moment, I expected son of a gun, and I got SOB. So what are you going to do? I had great intentions. My execution was a failure. Also, I hear you play Sponge on the re-entry sometimes. I always remember my crappy band opening for them at Rhino's All Ages Club in Bloomington back in the day before they got their hit on the radio. Absolutely no one there. The fact that Mike in Portland, Oregon opened up for Sponge at Rhino's All Ages Club in Bloomington is so outstanding beyond belief. Beyond belief. Hey, JMV, why have none of you in the local media acknowledged the abject failure Archie Miller is, especially comparing what he inherited versus Tom Crean? Need to call it like it is. When have you heard Archie Miller described as a success here, Steve? When has he heard that? All you hear is negative about him, Steve. When has somebody suggested he's been successful? You got to tell me that. I mean, honestly, some of you jackasses that, you haven't done that. I mean, listen, that's all you hear. At some point, it gets tired of talking about. At what point have you heard how successful he has been during his tenure into his fourth season down there? At what point? Never. None. Zero. Hey, Travis, did you really hear that on New Year's Eve? Man, I'm in there by myself. I'm trying. I'm really trying. Like, I have the best of intentions, but I'm kind of like the Colts. I have the best of intentions, and sometimes the execution isn't there. So, I guess I got to take it. When have you heard anybody say, well, you know what? I think Archie Miller's doing a fantastic job. Like, never, nobody, anytime, anywhere, none. The only thing you ever hear from some is, well, you still got to give him time. What you mostly hear now is not a lot because they're soaked with apathy. People would just go, well, this is just a product, so what? Whatever. So I guess the most of what you hear right now is nothing. But I don't get that. I have none of you in the local media acknowledge. I don't know. Yeah, I have to counter that argument. Why have none of you listeners out there listened to how much it has been talked about things not working out down there? Why? Why did you not hear that? If there's one big reason why, it's because just not moving any meters up here. People go, oh, whatever. I mean, either they start winning at some point and become something that I don't think anybody figures it's going to be in a long period of time any longer, or you continue down this path and you're further forgotten. What do you think? I need to counter with that question at some point here. That's a good one. At JMV, the track actually called me today and asked if I wanted to buy tickets to the 500. As much as I'd love to, I'm going to wait and see what's happening. Man, I got my fingers crossed. I can tell you this. There's no way, to me, they're going to run a race without fans. I don't know how many, whatever, but no way they're going to do that again. None, zero. So, I mean, if you're asking me right now, and I guess because we're surrounded by so much negativity and, spiking numbers and, things of that nature, I would suggest that if you were asking me, all right, give me a multiple choice, what do you think is going to happen? And you're asking me right now, I would suggest that it gets moved back. If you're asking me right now, and that may change. I would suggest it gets moved back. Because, again, there's no way they're going to run that thing without fans. I think they're going to give themselves the best opportunity to put as many and as safely in that facility as they can and not have to go through what they went through a year ago. So there's a lot riding on it. I saw Gene Smith, the OSU AD, saying, quote, "We continue to follow the same protocols as we have all season. We plan to play January the 11th. That's answering a question from a little bit earlier. And this is from Pete Thamel. As of right now, Ohio State planning on playing, and the title game is scheduled January the 11th. All systems are go. There's been COVID-19 issues at Ohio State, but not enough to postpone the game. This is obviously COVID-19 times, and things can change. And I know people get tired of hearing that, but it's the absolute truth. I mean, you can't. It's tough to make any call. That's why you look ahead to the NCAA tournament, and you cross your fingers and you hope. I mean, I'm talking about hoping that they're going to be able to have some sort of fan representation without knowing at all that that's going to be the case. But you hope that. I mean, the bottom line of it, you just hope that it's able to go off, and you hope that they're able to execute it, and the games are played. And there's minimal setbacks. Just kind of looking back at the high school football season. I mean, the IHSAA just said, hey, you know what? We're going to go through this. Some folks are going to suffer the consequences, the unfortunate nature of having COVID within their program, and others aren't, but we're going straight forward through completion of the season. And they did. All right, quick break, and we'll come back. Top of the hour, actually 5:10 for Jeremiah Johnson at Fox Sports Indiana. If you missed the Pacer ending last night, it was a humdinger. Got a made three by Vic, a steal by Vic, a made three by Miles. They were down 10 with 2 minutes to go, 6 with about a minute to go, 30 seconds to go. 6 with 30 seconds to go. Tie the game in regulation. Overtime they go. Overtime they lose Miles. They lost the bonus in regulation. And then ultimately you get Malcolm Brogdon with that runner, that teardrop in the lane that was the difference in the game, and the Pacers win on the road in New Orleans last night. JJ, about that and a lot more coming up at 5:10. Your calls at 239-1070, Inside the Lounge on YouTube Live, and a lot more with you on the other side next.
Spectrum Mobile is the fastest growing mobile provider in the nation. It's easy to see why millions have chosen a better way to mobile. With Spectrum Mobile, there are no contracts and no added fees. Even nationwide 5G is included at no extra cost. Switch today and you could save big. Grab your current mobile bill and use the Spectrum Mobile Savings Calculator to see how much you can save. Go to spectrummobile.com/saving today. Spectrum Internet required based on Q2 2020 subscriber data. Services not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Hey, John, for PAI, WeGrowHairIndy.com. I was having a conversation about this a little bit earlier, and I said, the plan for me is to have all new parts by the time that I'm 60. I'm going to be like Steve Austin, not the wrestler and actor, but Steve Austin, Lee Majors, and the $6 Million Man. I may not be the $6 Million Man. I'll be like the $5 man, but whatever. New parts, and part of that is hair, because Darren Andrews came at me about 5 years ago and said, JMV, I have seen you're having a troublesome bald spot on top of your head, and sometimes a little bit later on in life when you lose that dome coverage, it's going to be bright and shiny, and people will have to put on sunglasses when you go to the beach around you. I said, can we do something about it? He said, absolutely. Platelet-rich plasma, multi-unit hair grafting, autologous robotic FUE, laser hair therapy, the procedures that can give you the option of real growing hair again. And you know what? 5 years later, it worked out smashingly. Nothing about being vain. It's all about having options. And you do have options in hair regrowth. Regrow, sustain with PAI. 888-724-5129 for the private consultation today. Or WeGrowHairIndy.com.
Set a realistic resolution this new year, like making sure your hair looks like $1 million. That's easy for me. I just go to Lady Jane's in Greenwood on State Road 135, just north of Smith Valley Road. Treat yourself to a haircut, hot lather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. And if that's not enough, you can watch your favorite sports or news on one of our flat screen TVs. This year, make a New Year's resolution that you can actually keep. Lady Jane's in Greenwood on State Road 135, just north of Smith Valley Road. It's wicked awesome.
The new year is here. Let's get it kicked off right with a cash-out refinance. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Collect them, trade them, or just enjoy them.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Greg Rakestraw, Sam Monson, podcast 1075thefan.com. DeForest Buckner of the Colts coming up tomorrow. If the Colts were to practice today, Kari Willis would have been good to go. So expect Kari Willis to be back in that Colts secondary on Saturday. That is a big deal. Now, we were just talking about this during the break. The one thing, if you're asking me about there being a chance or having some positivity, keep this in mind with Buffalo this year and the Colts and with what took place with Tennessee last year. Tennessee goes to Baltimore. Baltimore had a time off. They come back. And Tennessee, I think, were 10-point underdogs in that game. 10-point underdogs in that game a year ago, correct?
10-point, some places had 8.5, so in there. Bigger than what the Colts are currently.
Yeah. And I guess that is kind of what you're looking and hoping the Colts can do to have a game and performance like that. And not that there's a connection here, but if you remember, one of the losses for the Bills this season was a Tuesday night in Nashville, where Tennessee hadn't practiced for 2 weeks. I mean, they were absolutely soaked up in COVID-19 down in Nashville. They hadn't practiced unless they practiced illegally, reportedly, and they ended up winning that game.
No, they killed them.
Yeah,
they killed the Bills. It was a convincing win.
I mean, you can make the argument, too, that the Bills had to sit around and wait so long, maybe. But, yeah, I mean, if there is a little bit of hope, it's the fact that style, kind of the style that we're talking about right here, that style, worked a year ago against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore for the Titans, and we'll see if this is workable for the Colts. And it was a 10-point underdogs were the Titans a year ago in Baltimore. So you're asking, I'm telling. That just is a thought when you have those conversations regarding this matchup coming up later on this week. 239-1070. J-Law is up next. J-Law, you in the Fubar Lounge. Outstanding work on Thursday night. Well done.
Hey, we have recovered.
Yeah, I noticed you guys weren't around on Saturday, so I figured that. Yeah.
Hey, this is just a shout-out to all the volunteers that are missing out on high school basketball at the location. My mom has been doing the hospitality room at Richmond since 1981. She is now 86 years old and still does it.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
They won it 2 years back-to-back to have a contest throughout the state, and she has won it 2 years in a row, and her chocolate cake supposedly has swayed a few calls in the Red Devils state.
Why not? I mean, use every weapon that you have, right, buddy?
Yeah, but she's missing it a lot. So I really feel for those folks, the players, the fans, and the people who put their time in and volunteer. So hopefully we can get back to getting back in the stands.
Completely agree. J-Law, again, you guys are great on Thursday.
We have a good time, man. Good time. We appreciate all you do.
You got to bounce back. Get back in here on Saturday, too, man.
Will do, sir.
That's J-Law from the Lounge and from the Fubar Lounge. They call in on the JMV Takeover a lot, which is a hell of a good time. Hey, JMV, I know you're a man about the community, and I am a man about the community. Have you ever heard of a place, I may be pronouncing this wrong, La Spada's Pizzeria in Plainfield? Do I have that right? No, I haven't heard of it, and yes, I'm probably butchering the name, but I think you pronounce it as you have it written out here, La Spada's. La Spada's? I have not heard of it. but I am sure it's fantastic. And if I haven't heard of it, somebody will probably have heard of it. Hell, by the end of the show, I would expect. Laspadas, and I may be butchering that name, but that's just kind of what I do. AJ's at 239-1070. AJ, hello.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yo.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
I remember the last time the Colts went up there, I think it snowed about 4 or 6 inches. When Terrell Owens was doing the snowman in the end zone. But
yeah.
If it snows 4 or 6 inches up there, and I know Indianapolis inside team, they're outside, but do you think it would help us or hinder us?
I think gusty winds hurt because Phillip Rivers has tough enough time not to throw the flutter ball in general when he does throw it. I don't think that helps, but yeah, I would think the snowy conditions probably would, unless you want to counter with, the defense against this talented Bills offense would be on their heels. But I think Saturday it's like 30 degrees and partly sunny. I don't know if anybody's worried about that.
Okay. I thought maybe it'd help our running game or something more so.
Yeah. No, and AJ, thank you for the call. I mean, yeah, I think logically speaking, you would suggest that maybe that would take something away. Those types of inclement conditions could take something away from the Bills' offense. But 30 degrees on Saturday there doesn't look like an indicator of that being a possibility. Chance of participation. Way to go. Chance of precipitation. I almost had to go JMV 88 and just say rain. Is at 0%. See, Reggie Sykes checks in already. Laspadas. He believes I'm saying that right. That is good pizza. Well done. Thank you, Reggie. See, I'm telling you, you guys ask me, and if I don't have the answer, I'll find the answer in a bit. Like always. All right, Inside the Lounge, if you guys want to go there, listen, watch, participate. There's some participation going on, not precipitation going on inside the lounge right now. That's YouTube Live. Jeremiah Johnson, Fox Sports Indiana, 5-10. Pacers with a nice overtime win last night. We'll dive into back into some of those circumstances and more. Then moving forward without TJ Warren for the foreseeable future and what he sees with this team's reaction through this early point of the season to its new head coach, Nate Bjorkgren. JJ coming up at 5:10, 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Sports with Dan Dakich.
Coach Tom Allen, people want you at various schools. There are jobs open. How are you going to address this, or have you addressed this with your team?
The bottom line is that when you have success, people are going to talk, and people are going to want what we've created in Indiana. The LEO culture, they want that locker room, they want that sideline, and they want the way our kids play the game. But I'm the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers.
Dan Dakich, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, JMV here for LD Smith Plumbing. Shout out to Lance. Have you already called a plumber, right? Let's be you for a moment. You called that plumber. You had situation working and completely unimpressed with the knowledge and the skill set that they have. And then, man, you got that price tag and you thought, what in the world is happening here? Nope. Not with LD Smith Plumbing. Call Lance at LD Smith Plumbing today and get that free second opinion. A free second opinion. I've used them. They are awesome. You will love them. LD Smith Plumbing is a local company. They can tackle any issue, large or small, and they're following CDC recommended guidelines. So maintaining your safety is also job number one. Online, ldsmithplumbing.com. Again, ldsmithplumbing.com today, 317-284-9526. The folks I use, LD Smith Plumbing. Tell Lance I said hello. Must provide competitor invoice on free second opinion. Details, ldsmithplumbing.com today.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. It's a new year, time for a new mortgage. Mortgage interest rates are in the twos, and we are saving our clients hundreds, even thousands of dollars a month with an easy refinance. Whatever your goals are for the new year, let's get it started. How much can you save? Find out now. The 5-minute loan approval, only available at thehomeloanexpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Hey, it's Big Joe for BetMGM. My betting app for 2021 actually hit a 17 parlay over the weekend and was a Nyheim Hines touchdown away from hitting my 6-leg one-game parlay. If you like to bet, sign up for BetMGM and get your first deposit doubled with Instant Match. Register for BetMGM using the bonus code INSTANTBIGJOE and get your first deposit matched up to $500 in free bets. That's some serious cash for some serious sports action, like the new Pacers season or the NFL playoffs that are going on. All you need to do to get your first deposit matched up to $500 is sign up for BetMGM's app or go to BetMGM.com and use the bonus code INSTANTBIGJOE. BetMGM is going to raise the stakes all year long with innovative parlay selection features, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, and much, much more. No one can match your game except BetMGM. That's why they're the king of sports books. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You got to be over 21 years of age or older to wager. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WFNI, WIBC, HD2, W298BB, WIBC, HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw, Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus earlier. Podcast 1075thefan.com. JJ coming up in a mere 10 minutes. Fox Sports Indiana. Pacers a winner on the road last night against the Pelicans. They get the Houston Rockets coming up at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. That is tomorrow night. What, Phoenix? Is that Friday? Saturday, Phoenix, right? Saturday's Phoenix. So, yeah, it's a difficult week right there. That's a big one last night because about 2 minutes to go, they're down 10, and you thought, yep, done. Travis Smith says La Spada has some killer wings. That's in Plainfield. Somebody asked me. See, that's what happens. Here's what you want to do. If you have a local business, A, you want to advertise. B, if you're wondering about advertising, just go ahead and throw the name via social media down the pipeline. Let it get to me and let me mention it, and then you'll see the reaction you get. Pretty simple right here. La Spada. I don't get out very much either. I know everybody thinks I do. Well, you're out doing remotes all the time and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, but besides that, I don't do jack squat. Jeff writes this, JMV, the only way snow helps a team is if the home team, like the Titans versus Green Bay, the Titans were terrible in the weather. Yeah, I mean, 30, 35 degrees. It'll be fine up there. Colts are just going to have to play. And hopefully they can hang in. I gave you some keys a little bit earlier. Pacers with JJ in a minute. Mike at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Mike.
Hey, thanks for taking the call.
Yes.
I got two quick questions.
Yep.
I was wondering if you'd heard anything about Jeremy Lamb's progression or timeline, and then when he does come back and he's not on a minutes restriction, what non-starter do you think suffers the most from that?
Well, I mean, I think right now, just because he's not adding a great deal to the mix, it's going to be Aaron Holiday, I would guess.
Right.
I mean, you need somebody else that is going to be like Justin's giving you good minutes. Doug McDermott's giving you good minutes. I'm just talking about bench guys in general. TJ McConnell's doing, I think, what everybody expects. The one person that may not be living up to that so far is Aaron Holiday, that they expect more out of. So maybe that's it. You ask about when he's expected back. Initially, they talked about at some point later on this month. Now, he was there. He was on the bench there, not on the bench in uniform, but I saw him with the team there last night. I don't know if that means anything at all, but I would expect maybe later on this month them to get him back, and we'll see how he jumps back into the mix.
All right, thanks for taking the call.
Mike, thank you. Do you agree, Aaron Holiday? He's a guy that you really want to see evolve, and it hadn't happened yet. I don't know about anybody else. I think Doug McDermott has really benefited from the coaching change. Doug McDermott looks a lot more confident. Doug McDermott, the past 2 years, especially last year, he'd go sit in one corner or the other corner, and he'll find the open spot. Now he's taking things to the basket, stuff that he really didn't do too much.
How many times last year could you remember McDermott, taking it off the dribble?
He's mostly finding an open spot. Somebody else is taking it off the dribble and kicking it out for him to be open. Remember how brutal he was at home shooting a three? He was good on the road a year ago shooting a three, but brutal at home shooting a three. This offensive arsenal from Doug McDermott's a hell of a lot better than I can remember. You see him get pushed out of the way last night by Steven Adams? I think it was right after Miles fouled out? I think it was right after Miles fouled out. And Adams just went, whoop, just push him around the way. He's a big human.
He's huge.
And then I think Sabonis got foul 4. Was it foul number 4 when Adams grabbed his jersey and held him down and then went up with his right hand? And then on the out on the wing, Sabonis got called for the foul. Hey, this is from Alex Pelham. I guess I'm glad they didn't trade Turner for a Kit Kat and a bottle of Big Red. He's looking better so far this year. You were right. See, that is manly of you, Alex Pelham. And the fact you mentioned Big Red makes it even better right there. Well done. Yeah, I've explained this before, and I think it just had snowballed into, and it'll still happen too, but it snowballed into a situation where that is always going to be the negative focus. And if you watch Miles play, and you saw it last night with 5 fouls, that dude played every bit as aggressive and didn't back away and still went after shots as he would have had he only had 2 or 3 fouls. He still went at it, and that's what his coach told him to do. You see a lot more of Miles going to the basket now. I see a lot more in general. Let me tell you defensively, you watch when he goes out, it is a stinking layup line most of the time. Because part of the problem that this Pacer team has, they can't stand in front of anybody. Like quick guards. And I know when we're talking about Trae Young and dudes like that, they're going to get around most people, and I completely understand it. But if you watched, and he's good too. He's an all-star. But if you watched Ingram last night, he was just getting to spots on the floor and shooting what was comfortable. If you listen to what Malcolm Brogdon said after the game about his game winner, what was most important about that? He told JJ, I wanted to get to my spot and I didn't want to settle. Ingram was doing that late, and this was late in regulation, if you remember, and then Miles got out there on a hedge and pushed him away from the elbow extended, his spots for that game, because he had 31 and just continuously knocked him down, pushed him further out with his length, and it was Ingram settling for that 3 that wasn't anywhere near. He does help. Listen, he's not going to be a monster on the glass. And I know that there was a huge discrepancy, and believe me, rebounding is not good with this team. But if you look at the rebounds, check that last night, Kyle. If you look at the rebounds, Steven Adams only had 8. Steven Adams normally would have 15, but they're guards. I think 3 out of the 4 top rebounders on their team last night were at the guard position. Because Bledsoe, I think Josh Hart, I think those guys all had 8 rebounds or more. There was somebody else. Was it 3 out of 4 guys were either guards or small forwards?
Zion had 10. Eric Bledsoe had 11. Josh Hart had 10.
Yeah.
Steven Adams had 8.
Who? They got good representation from the guard, and That's something I think, and certainly you want to see Miles get more rebounds, and you want this rebounding to be better, but I think this team is going to have to become better at rebounding from the guard position. I don't know if they can.
The Pacers, Brogdon had 7 rebounds, Oladipo with 5, Justin Holiday with 7, Sabonis 11, Miles Turner 2.
Yeah. See, I mean, and 2. Listen, he goes after every shot. You go after every shot, and you're not going to be in position to get it. And regardless of that, he's a big difference maker down the stretch last night. I mean, even beyond the fact that he knocked down the game-tying 3. And I've always tried to explain that as being something that is essential to this team because they just normally can't stay in front of anybody. It's been a problem. I guess if you look at those stats, their guard position rebounded relatively well last night, right? If you look at those stats alone. Hey, back to your calls in a second on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Jeremiah Johnson, Fox Sports Indiana, joins us. Do you think that thing with 2 minutes to go was over last night?
I do admit that. I think Quinn said to Chris, there's a lot of basketball yet to be played, and I looked over at Eddie, and I kind of raised one eyebrow because I wasn't quite believing that things were going to go the Pacers' direction because they were struggling so much offensively. And, on the road, you think it's never easy, but maybe it's easier to come back from a deficit late on the road without fans. And I think once the Pelicans started missing shots and your guy Miles Turner was affecting a lot of those, he just had to hit a couple. And even before Victor's heroics, they had a couple of good looks, or it could have been tied at that point.
Yeah, it was Justin Holiday and Vic also had looks at 3, and that's when I thought it was going to happen. I thought when Holiday missed that corner 3 wide open, that exhausted the opportunity.
Yeah, I would agree with you because you had an opportunity right there. If those go in, or even if one of them went in and you needed one more stop, and when you missed both of those, then okay, well, it seems pretty much unlikely. And I did listen to a little bit of the Pelicans call, and as soon as Victor hits the shot, they're like, oh, well, now they'll play the foul game, and I'm sure they would have had to foul pretty quickly, and maybe it would have even been okay fouling Lonzo Ball, even though he hit better from the outside than he had previously when I had seen him. Great steal by Vic, and it was almost reminiscent of Reggie Miller if Miles would have passed the ball, swung it around the perimeter, because Vic could have been open, hit the 3, but I credit Miles for confidently taking that shot.
Yeah, and I credit Quinn for saying this, and he's absolutely right because, I'm one obviously that pays a lot of attention to 33. When he ball fakes left like that and then swings back in to that 3-pointer, odds on that he's going to make it. That's where I think, especially straight on like that, where he's most comfortable.
The other thing I think, John, that helped Miles is just the situation. Remember at the end of last season before the games were paused, I think it was a game against Portland at home and then also one at Cleveland where he had big threes late. And so once you do that a couple times, I think it helps you the next time you're in that situation. And, Malcolm throws him the ball and he's ready. And I think the other thing that you could say about Miles, and I talked about this with Pat Boylan on our podcast, which will come out tomorrow, is he probably had for the first 3 quarters, maybe the worst 3 quarters of the season. And previously Miles would have had his head down and maybe wouldn't have finished the game strong, but he basically had a rough 3 quarters, a great 4th quarter, and an impactful overtime prior to fouling out. And that shows some of the growth that he has had mentally as much as anything else.
I would agree. And you saw it when he picked up that 5th foul, and it was a prolonged camera shot of him going to the bench and sitting on the bench and then looking up. Most of the time in the past, that meant Miles was done. I agree.
Yeah. And there were times last year, maybe, though, he would have not even gotten back into the game. Now, Domantas Sabonis fouled out, so you would have needed him. But you wouldn't have expected him to basically make 5 or 6 game-altering plays. And if you go back and look at the Pelicans' possessions, if they make any one of those shots from the 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes left to play, they win the game. And he was affecting shots, maybe credited with a couple of blocks. Even Brandon Ingram's last one, I think Miles was impactful there.
Yep.
So on the defensive end, I know you've been had your megaphone in your hand and reminding everyone that would listen that he changes the game when he's on the court defensively. And all you need to do is go back and watch the end of that Pelicans game.
And the problem is, because when he's off the floor, the Pacers don't keep the ball in front of them enough. And he's that last line of defense. And with this team, the way that it's built defensively, that's what's expected of him. And when he's not in there, I mean, it's a glorified layup line. I mean, it really is when he's not in there. And I will say this. You mentioned the Brandon Ingram. He was getting to that spot, elbow extended, getting to that spot and knocking down shot after shot. And then when Miles hedged on him and pushed him from the left elbow out further in one of those big offensive moments down the stretch, and you got to miss. So there are a couple of different times when he was big without, the opportunity of taking a swipe at a shot down low.
Yeah, I mean, this whole call, we don't need to be about Miles Turner, but I wanted to add, the blocks, everyone around the country, they'll look at that and they'll say, well, he's doing a really good job. But then they look at Miles and they say, well, he should rebound better, or maybe he should be better as a man-to-man post defender. That's not necessarily his strength, but I don't know that anybody is affecting shots and really affecting what teams do offensively as much as what Miles is doing. And so the blocks are something he's always going to be able to do. But just what you say about teams think twice now about whether they're going into the paint. The couple games when he didn't have that many blocks, I think it was because teams were, all right, we'll just stop and we'll shoot from 8 feet. We don't want to go in there because it's not going to be a good thing if we do that. So I think Miles has had a really good start. And offensively, he's doing what they need. They need him to be a threat. He will shoot a little bit of higher percentage, I think, from three as the season goes along. But in putting the ball on the floor and attacking the basket, that's what he does well. I don't think he's ever going to be a great throw the ball in the post and have him make a drop step or do something like that. But off of a fake dribble handoff, he can put the ball on the floor and he can go finish. And we've seen it multiple times this season.
It's a JJ, Fox Sports Indiana on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pacers a winner in overtime in New Orleans last night. Next up tomorrow night, the Rockets here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. How much of an early effect, and here's a couple of things I noticed. I can't really notice anything else other than, leaving guys in with 2 fouls in the first quarter, leaving guys in early in the third, with 3 or 4 fouls, whatever, not bringing them out. Those are some of the things that I noticed that I think it's with Miles in mind, it's helped install a little bit more confidence too. What are some of the other changes besides just the volume and threes that you have seen so far with Nate Bjorkgren at the helm?
Well, all respect to Dan Burke because he did such a great job for so many years. But one of the things he didn't really teach to go for steals. He wanted to play hard-nosed defense, force tough shots, and get the rebound because he thought sometimes if you went for a steal, then it would result in a layup or an easy opportunity if you didn't get it. I think there's a little more trapping, more double teaming, more kind of telling guys fly all over the court. And they do that, I think, a little bit with in mind that if Miles is back there, cover things up and there can be a little bit more scrambling and you can kind of, make up for if you don't get the steal. So that's probably something that I've noticed on the defensive end. And even another Miles thought. He's been with the second unit more than I can ever recall, and that can kind of help get him going. It's so easy to throw Sabonis out there and have him feast on a backup center, but it's also good to have Miles have an opportunity with that group and maybe against a lesser defender in that second unit. So I still prefer, I think, the lineup with McDermott and McConnell and Sabonis and Justin Holiday and whether it's Aaron or someone else in that second unit because they've done so well over the years. But Miles can play with them also. And so I think the rotations are a little bit different. I think we'll see more changes as we move forward. Nate has hinted that he's going to, go to his bench more and play guys on one-off games, maybe change the starting lineup. But everything's been pretty much the same through 7 games. But that road trip next week is no joke. It's 5 games in 7 days, a couple of back-to-backs. So I think we're going to have to see a little bit more random rotations and maybe more, just one-off plays, sets defensively, and lineups next week.
Certainly we've seen a more confident Doug McDermott and doing things that he would not have done in the past couple of years here. I don't think there's any question about that. But we are continuously searching for the Aaron Holiday sustained, positive game and performance, which clearly is not going on right now.
Yeah, you really do need a little bit more out of Aaron with T.J. Warren out, and he started the last couple of games, but I don't know that it's going to be every single night Aaron Holiday starts. And with the way Justin Holiday played, the number of minutes he played against certain wings, he's a natural person to maybe move into the starting lineup. depending on who you're playing. I don't really have an answer to why it hasn't worked yet for Aaron like it has for someone like you say, Doug McDermott, other than when you maybe least expected. I mean, there was a point last night where I think he maybe over the 2 games had missed his last 10 shots, and then he did hit it 3. So I think maybe right now he's still probably better suited to be a focal point of a second unit than a fifth option in a starting unit. But to his credit, he's not forcing things. And so I think this is where you're still experimenting life without TJ Warren. How do you best put the pieces on the court to make them successful?
How do you think Vic has looked so far? I think that every game he's raising the bar on this. And here's the other thing that sticks out, and it was really sticking out last night because, I mean, he was a part of what got them into overtime, and then Brogdon, put the cap on it in overtime with that teardrop in the lane. It looks like those guys are becoming more acquainted / cohesive with one another than maybe I think a lot of us thought was ever going to happen here.
Last year, it was really difficult for Victor Oladipo to feel like I think he was part of that team because the roster turned over quite a bit. And at the beginning of the season, he was rehabbing, he wasn't traveling, and then when he came back, there was so much attention on just his individual rehab that I'm not sure that he ever really got to know Malcolm Brogdon all that well, and I'm not sure that he ever really clicked with a guy like Justin Holiday. But I did ask him this in training camp, and I've seen it. On the court and just the limited times I'm able to kind of be around and observe things, it feels more like the year that he came to the Pacers and that he's that positive sunshine influence and the guy that he walks in a room and everyone kind of lights up. And I'll be perfectly honest, it was impossible to be that way last year because he had so many things on his mind. It was, if his knee felt soreness, then I think it affected him. And I just don't think he ever really – joining a team and starting to play in late January when they've already got a good thing going, it's really hard. So to start with this group from day one and kind of have a fresh start has really meant a lot. And to that relationship with Malcolm Brogdon, I'll give Malcolm a lot of credit because he played so well last year. He is sort of turned into the captain and the leader of the team. He could easily, say, I'm the guy. And I think he knows for this team to be at its best, it's almost these two together. It's not just point guard Malcolm Brogdon. It's the backcourt of Brogdon and Victor Oladipo. And so I would agree with you. I wondered if they would ever really fit well together. But the thing is, they both emphasize defense. I mean, they're two-way players. So they're neither one, letting things happen on that end of the floor. And I think at this point, they're both not forcing shots either. And that's a credit to Vic because it's an important year for him. Everyone knows it, but he's not coming into this game saying, I've got to get 20 field goal attempts a game. He's passing up shots. He's making sure his teammates get open looks, and he's just kind of doing everything that I felt like he did when he joined the Pacers that 2017-18 year, and there's a long way to go, but I don't know that I could have expected to be any better than it has been up to this point.
So Jeremiah Johnson, Fox Sports Indiana, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and rightly so. There's been a lot made of, and there was a year ago because it wasn't any good, and then it's gotten progressively worse early this season, and that is this Pacer team rebounding. Listen, it would be great. Miles had 2, and you'd like to see him get more, but I think we know the effect he has when he comes after the ball with a block and, trying to do that and then come back for a rebound. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I've said this. I thought 2 of the 4 high rebounders last night for New Orleans were from the guard position. And I think, and I don't know if it's going to be in them, but I think for this team to be better at rebounding, you want to see Miles get more. I completely agree with that, but I think the guards are just simply going to have to rebound better.
They are, and that's where you're a little concerned about wearing a guy like Malcolm Brogdon out. I mean, you think about that game, how many minutes he played last night, how much of the time he's guarding Brandon Ingram. He's also, distributing, making sure everyone gets their shots. And then if you're going to say, hey, go in there and crash the glass and make sure you get 8 or 10 rebounds as well, that's where durability over the course of a season, it would concern me a little. I'm thinking as you watch this group, a guy like Justin Holiday is so important. Doug McDermott, guys that are going to take some of that time at the 3 in place of TJ Warren, just have to make it their mindset. If the ball is coming down, I've got to go get it, because you make a really solid point. Miles, if he's affecting shots, you just can't turn around and grab the ball as easily as people watching at home might think. And so it's going to be constantly something they're reinforcing in film studies and working on, and they're just not a team full of just natural rebounders. There's no Dennis Rodman that just, it's their job to just go grab the rebound. Maybe Sabonis is as close as there is to it. But against certain teams, against a team like Adams and Zion, you're just going to kind of hold your breath a little bit because there is an opportunity for the Pacers to have some struggles in that area.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, you got the Rockets coming in here tomorrow. They hadn't been going well. I know they got back-to-back wins against Sacramento in their latest outing. I think they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. And obviously, when you look at the Rockets, you look at a guy in James Harden, and you got Eric Gordon from North Central, the Mr. Basketball here. They still have a lot of weapons, even looking much different than what this team did a year ago.
I will say it's one you'll want to tune in for because you mentioned James Harden. There are Eric Gordon fans, as there should be, all over Central Indiana, and even John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, you never really know what you're going to get from those guys. So I'm thinking it's going to be a really entertaining game. I hope the Pacers have the energy from the start because, I mean, that was a taxing game in New Orleans. Now, they didn't have practice today, and that's another thing that I think Coach Bjorkgren is really trying to say, well, if you're playing heavy minutes and getting the job done, then maybe that next practice is not as necessary, and rest up today so you're ready for the next game. And that's something that's been a little bit of a theme over these 2 weeks. We'll see if it continues, but I think he has the big picture in mind of being good at the end of the season, and things like a Tuesday practice maybe isn't as important. So maybe that helps the Pacers as well. But I think the Rockets matchup is fascinating, and I don't recall ever seeing a Pacers team play 9 straight against Western Conference opponents. And so they got the first one. That road trip next week is going to be challenging. But every single night, if the Pacers are playing, I think it's worth watching, not just because of the way the Pacers are playing, but some interesting matchups coming up over the next couple of weeks as well.
Hey, JJ, before I let you go, it was announced yesterday and made official, something we all knew that was coming down the pipe in the first place, and that is the NCAA tournament being all-encompassing here in Indiana and here in the Indianapolis area. We do not know, outside of the first week of March, the rest of the NBA schedule, much less the Pacers schedule. What's your expectation as far as what this schedule is going to look like with all that collegiate basketball being here in town for the better part of a month?
Well, you do know that the schedule was slanted a little bit in the first 32 or first 36, I should say, of home games. And so maybe there was a thought that the Fieldhouse might be busy a little bit in March. My expectation is just not any insider knowledge, but just, maybe a road-heavy month of March. And in the past, when the Big Ten tournament and even NCAA tournament has been at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the women's Big Ten as well, there have been those Monday and Tuesday Pacer home games. So this was one of those kind of perfect storms where the schedule wasn't set. So you get that in there now, and then while they're formulating the second half of the NBA schedule, you just put some blackout dates, and there aren't as many concerts. So if you have more home games in April and May, I think you're able to do that. But right away in March there, maybe get used to having the suitcases out a little bit more frequently.
We see Jeremy Lamb's return before the end of this month?
I don't know. Everything that I've heard and that we have heard from the coach has been sort of end of January, but he did say before the next game that it's still 2-on-2 and 3-on-3, but that some of the assistants were monitoring that, and they told him that he looked really good. But even with that, you've still got to play 5-on-5, I would think, for a couple of weeks. So we're first week of January. The injury happened after the All-Star break last, 2020. So that was mid to late February. I think if you get him in January, it's a bonus. But if you get him in February, there's still plenty of time. And whenever you do get him, with T.J. Warren being out indefinitely, I think he'll fit right in and he'll be able to help. Maybe the starting group, maybe the second unit. We'll have to wait and see. But I think he's progressing as well as can be expected given the seriousness of the injury that he suffered.
What do you think? If you're a guessing man, do you think T.J. Warren is back before the end of the season altogether?
Just strictly a guess?
Yeah.
I think they did that at the time they did because there's an opportunity. If not, maybe I don't know when the injury specifically happened because he was dealing with the plantar fasciitis with the other foot. So nothing leads me to think this is anything quote-unquote season ending. And every time Nate Bjorkgren talks about it, he just emphasizes how much T.J. Warren wants to play. So without having been a part of any of those conversations or in the room, it just seems like maybe if it's been bothering him, get it out of the way and then be able to come back and help the team towards the end of the regular season and the playoffs, and they could convince him to do that instead of just continuing to deal with it. So, like I said, I don't know when it actually happened. It was even confusing to us as to which foot initially because we're so used to the other injury that maybe this was a new injury, but I don't know when it happened. So I'm projecting out, looking forward to a Pacers team that can be at full strength in the playoffs whenever that happens. And at that point, you're going to have a lot of options if everyone else can stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully so too. It should be fun. You've been down there. You're in the Fox Loft the entire time. Is it just workers and then some family members that are allowed in there during games?
Yep, no fans can buy tickets, and the New Year's Eve game they had some of the Pacers employees were able to have their family attend the games, and I think from the beginning the players' family could be there. So I've actually not even ever since the regular season started, I've been kind of attached to the Fox Loft. So Eddie goes in there and watches the action because he's not doing the in-game work, but I'm stuck in the loft. So I don't know what the plans are, towards the end of the month or into February. A lot of that's going to be virus dependent, but there are not a lot of people in there. But there are some friends and family who have been allowed in, and I think everyone's known and kind of seen that.
How many were there last night in New Orleans?
I don't know that either. Every jurisdiction's a little bit different. We did see a wide shot where there were more than I thought.
Me too. Me too.
There's never a lot of fans at their own games anyway, so part of me wondered how different it felt. I remember last year the Pacers played the Pelicans, and it was the day of the college football semifinal, and the only people in the building were watching the LSU game on their phone and didn't even care about what was happening. So, but I did take note of that, and I know every team has a different number that they're allowing. So if you're allowed due to the government, you are allowed to sell tickets. And so I do think maybe the Pelicans sold some, but I don't have a number offhand. All
right. Great job last night. You guys are doing a good job trying to fight through this. I know that whole thing's a pain in the ass, and I feel for you. So, poor Nate is, when he gets on that Zoom, whatever, his head's a little bitty. He's got a little bitty head.
Yeah, and I'm still experimenting with my phone or an iPad and a computer, trying to make it look the best that we can. And that's the other thing that I'll credit Nate. He's been very nice, and you could not be more welcoming in some of those Zoom interviews. But I've basically been in the same room as him one time, and that was a media day setup that we had in early training camp. So it's hard to really have that personal connection with him or even some of the other new staff members. Good news is we do know most of these players because they're the same from last year. But it's a little bit of a challenge, and my monitor is about a 21-inch monitor that I'm sitting about 10 feet from. So I don't even see everything probably as good as you guys do at home.
Hey, Sabonis stole my hairstyle this year, too. I'm flattered.
Yeah, we ought to do it side by side because you guys are both styling.
Oh man, I was flattered by that. All right, hey, well done.
I might need to go that route at some point in the next year or two. So maybe I could join the club.
That hair's flopping around right there. I mean, it looks glorious what he has right there. So
I say keep it.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you.
Okay.
It's JJ, Fox Sports Indiana on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, Fusen, if you're on the way home right now, that's Rick Fusen, friend of this show. Lob me a call or a text or something and tell me, is there a hard target date, Kyle, you think, when they start to allow a couple of fans in there? I mean, I guess that's just all up to local government.
They're probably taking their orders from Marion County.
The Colts can have
governor.
10. I know it's a bigger facility, but the
it
Colts
might be
can
dependent
have 10.
square footage of the arena and percentage of people for capacity.
Well, the Colts had 10 on Sunday, and that was down from their high point this season, but they had 10. I don't see anybody in there but family members at the IU game. And see, that was a question. The other question I had, too, because somebody had called up, Rick, if you're listening right now, somebody had called up and asked about fans with Disney on Ice being allowed in, but not being allowed in for the Pacer game. And I don't know if that is absolutely true, how that goes, but we're always up for some clarification and the facts. If anybody has those, I'd love them. Just out of curiosity. All right, quick break, and we'll come back. 239-1070. Email address, JMV at 1070thefan.com. On Twitter at JMV1070. Inside the Lounge on YouTube Live. If you guys want to jump in there, you can. I have not. James Ross is asking me a question inside the lounge, and I have not heard that. Did you see that over there? Not heard it. I have not heard any COVID-related matters in terms of the Colts yet. All right, quick break. We'll come back with you at 239-1070 next.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
With a free offer from Jiffy Lube and Pennzoil, here's owner Steve Sanner.
As we approach another Indiana winter, your neighborhood Jiffy Lube shops are offering free winter safety checks. No appointment and no purchases necessary. Just stop into any Jiffy Lube and we will check your tires, brakes, battery, wiper blades, fluid levels, and answer any questions you may have about dashboard lights or any strange noises your car may be making. It's all part of Jiffy Lube's focus on becoming your trusted source for preventive maintenance. Cars and trucks are made so well these days that all you need to do is take care of them and they will last a long time. 200,000 miles is the new 100,000 miles. So stop into Jiffy Lube today. No appointment and no purchase necessary. And let our trained technicians do a free winter safety check to give you the confidence to make it through another Indiana winter.
Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985, proudly features Pennzoil. It's not just oil, it's Pennzoil.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Maxine. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, I love mentoring the new associates to help them make this a career and not just a job.
And with new opportunities and job stability, Geico has been helping people grow their careers for over 75 years. The only downside, she still hasn't met the gecko. Where are you, fella?
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
Hey, John here for PAI. It's WeGrowHairIndy.com today. My friends Darren Andrews over there. They'll get the job done for you. 888-724-5129 if you're losing your hair. And if you want to do something about that, you have options with your real hair growth. The 888-724-5129. WeGrowHairIndy.com. That private consultation, you can learn all about those solutions to get back your real hair growth. 888-724-5129 or WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
It's a new year, time for a new mortgage. How much can you save? Find out now. TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Sports with Dan Dakich.
Dan Gavitt, the entire NCAA tournament is going to be here in Indianapolis. How did this all come about?
Indianapolis was a natural place to consider because we were ending the tournament here. Why not consider starting it here as well? With the support of the governor's office and the mayor of Indianapolis office, we were able to work through the last several weeks on all of the assurances we needed, and we're excited to be able to make that a reality.
Dan Dakich, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rakestraw, Monson, JJ, podcast 1075thefan.com. Kyle's there. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. DeForest Buckner tomorrow. Skivvies writes this. JMV, since someone mentioned it, I looked it up. Disney on Ice tickets are in pods of 4 and 6. You can't tell how many people. So if you can do pods of Disney on Ice, why can't you do pods? I'm sure that there's a reason that I just don't have in my little tiny brain right now to understand, but I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, why can't you do that for an NBA game? Here, just wondering. Now, why can't you do that for an NCAA game here? Does Disney now get some special treatment? I don't know. Pods of 4 to 6 is what they say for Disney on Ice. Indy Drew chimes in. JMV, the problem with the pace is pretty simple here. Small forward. Even with TJ, between having no true 3 on the team, no backup power forward, the rebounds will suffer. Justin Holiday couldn't keep Phillip Rivers in front of him on D. We need a 3-4 hybrid that just would rebound and play some D. Who would that be? PJ Tucker? Is he a 3-4 hybrid? He's only 6'6", though, right? 6'7". I think he kind of plays like that. We'll see him tomorrow. The reason why I brought him up is because you'll see him tomorrow night. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, the solution here is, everybody rebound better. I mean, Sabonis is obviously doing his part, but, people always kind of point the finger to 33 and say, well, you've got to do this better. And while it'd be great if you could get more than 2, I mean, the way that he challenges shots, I don't know how you can do that and then double back and go get the rebound on the other side. And again, I'll tell you this, he's essential because not just what Indy Drew said about Justin, but this team has a big-time problem of keeping people in front of them. And without that shot-blocking presence, without that thought, without that potential, I mean, they're going to go to the glass. Eddie in Silverdale, Washington. JMV, why do I feel like Allen is going to carve up a soft zone Colts D on Saturday? Like to start the second half? Flashbacks of the old Tampa 2 D. Yeah, listen, I hope they leave it all out there. I mean, it's likely enough that Buffalo's going to be able to run roughshod because of the way they're playing offensively. But I hope that that's not expedited by the way the Colts play. I hope the Colts play just doesn't invite that. I hope that there is some resistance. I mean, what the hell do you have to lose? I mean, Frank said it either today or yesterday, I forget, when he talked about it. They're the 7 seed. And just, go out there and play like you're the 7. Just go out there and balls to the wall and what the hell. Which might be the worst description in the history of going out and playing hard. John writes this, JMV, 4 and 6 must be all that is left. My girlfriend was able to buy a pair. I'm just kind of curious, how many are going to be allowed in Disney on Ice? Out of curiosity. Hey, JMV, have you looked at the overall standings so far? What sticks out to you or surprises you regarding that in the NBA? I don't know if it surprises me or not, but the start that the Raptors are off to, I'm assuming that people expected more out of that. And I haven't paid too much attention. I don't know if they have injuries or COVID-related issues, but a 1-5 start, I'm sure, is somewhat surprising. Some people would point to the Wizards starting off with just 2 wins. Now that you have Westbrook and Bradley Beal, that part doesn't surprise me whatsoever. The Nets are 3-4. It was weird. They were still at full strength, and they took a beating by Charlotte that was completely unnecessary. It was one of those things where they just thought, we're playing Charlotte and we're a hell of a lot better. And that may be some of the issue that you get from them this year. And they're fighting KD being down with COVID right now, but some of the issue may be, hey, we're a lot better, and then you play teams, you play down to those teams, and you end up getting your ass whipped. So, yeah, Toronto would probably stick out to me over these first, handful, 6 or 7 games so far this season. 239-1070. John is up next. Hello, John. How are you?
JMV. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, John?
New year for first of all.
Right back at you.
You know, the speed of the NBA game has changed so much and these guys have such incredible ball handling skills. Man, the fear of a crossover makes it almost impossible to keep an NBA player in front of you, because the way they change direction, the way a player, you don't have to be Kyrie Irving. Everybody can handle the ball in this league. And the misdirection, the change of direction, we got some guys that's had some serious injuries. Guarding an NBA player is difficult. Look, you can get crossed over at the YMCA. So these guys, it's not, they don't ball out like they used to.
Well,
and
what you're doing, I get what you're saying here, John, too. And what you're saying is why I have touted Miles being so important. Because if that's going to happen, there is your essential line of defense right there. That's an absolute. That's something you have to have right there. Something that clearly is necessary for this team defensively.
Without a doubt. Because if you get shook up 7 or 8 times in a game, by the fourth quarter, you're worried about your ACL. You're worried about your Achilles. You're worried about soft tissue issues. It's serious, because these guys, they have the ball handling skills are just amazing today.
Yeah, and that's I agree, and that's why it's essential. You have 33, making sure on that back end that once you clear that initial defender on these crossovers or this great ball handling that you're talking about, that there is a fear that you're not going to go unimpeded to the glass, and that's what Miles adds to this team. And when people want to point out the lack of rebounding and all that, this is why he's essential to this team. And I've argued that for a long time, and I think people are just now really understanding it.
Without a doubt. That's it, JMV.
John, thank you for the call. I appreciate it, man. Call anytime. I do agree with that. I will say this. I do wish that the Pacers were able to keep dudes in front of them better than what they do. But I can't argue, and that's why I mentioned Trae Young, and we've seen a couple of different times Colin Sexton for the Cavaliers. I'm just trying to think in terms of guys, we have seen against the Pacers so far. Nobody really stands out for the Celtics. They can get. Jaylen Brown can get by you. Jason Tatum can get by you. But Jason Tatum, he settles for jump shots often. With Kemba Walker out there, Kemba Walker would be a guy certainly that would be able to do that. But that's why we talk about how essential 33 is in all this. Yeah, without question. Van Pasterman writes this: you watch a game and you see players who look at Miles and then pull the ball back out. That is right, and there is a huge difference. And that's why I say this, Van Pasterman, that's why he's essential to it. That's why he's essential to it. That's why when you talked about, you trade him and this for Gordon Hayward, good luck with that. If your team was built a little bit differently and could provide a little more resistance, then maybe not so much, but that's not what this team looks like. JMV, Oladipo seems to be making the most of his situation. Acts like he's enjoying the new coach and the team. What do you think the odds are that he is staying beyond this year? As I've said, too, before, Tony, I would agree with you. He looks like that he is having a good time. He looks like that he is feeling better, and I would agree with you. And whatever happens, I mean, I don't know if I essentially feel that he's absolutely going to be gone as I once did, but you get the feeling better game after game because as he raises the bar of as he raises the level of his play, that gives this Pacer team options. And good for Vic, is going to give him options too, but it gives this Pacer team options. If that's not the case, then you have very few options. So, I mean, it's good all the way around. It's obviously paying off so far this season in the way this Pacer team looks and the way that he is playing. But, I mean, even if he is not in the cards in the foreseeable future, it certainly can pay off for the Pacers in having options. And I would agree with you. I think he does look as if he enjoys playing for this coach. But again, as I've said in the past, he better, they better, because they wanted this change. They wanted this change. I mean, I don't know if it was all of them, but it was a lot of them. And the two guards were two that wanted the change. We're right there in front. So, I mean, that's what you would expect. But I would agree with you. I mean, he has looked a lot better, and he certainly looks like – that's why I asked JJ, the cohesion between he and Brogdon, which was a struggle, I think we'd all admit, a year ago, both before the shutdown and then, oftentimes after down in the bubble. But altogether this year – so far on this short sample size, I think everybody feels a lot better about it. I felt really good about it last night. I mean, you think about it, Vic had a nice game, really good game. Vic hit an important three down the stretch, got that huge steal, led to the Miles three to tie, and then Brogdon, got that game winner in overtime. Now, those guys making plays. Quick break, and we'll come back. Final time. We'll give you the guest list for tomorrow, which includes DeForest Buckner of the Colts. We'll talk Bills and Colts with DeForest Buckner tomorrow. 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing yards.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, all right, guys. Hey, join me coming up on Thursday, me and Brent Halverson, for our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots at the Mousetrap. First time we've been there. Actually, we did this thing called Fansgiving, and we took some of the Fansgiving money to help out the service workers and bartenders here around Indianapolis, right after Thanksgiving, and that was awesome. And I went to the Mousetrap, and we made that delivery, and we said, hey, you know what? We need to do a show from here. And we turned that around, and Brent and I will have our Larceny Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots for what is going to be a wild, and I mean wild, super wild card weekend beginning Saturday with the Colts and the Bills. We're going to have all our picks for that. It's Larceny Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. First time for this show live from the Mousetrap. That's on Thursday. So join us. We're going to have free cocktails for you. We're going to sit back in a great atmosphere in a great bar and hang out and talk sports and have some cocktails. The Larceny Bourbon Locks, the Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Me, Brent Halverson, Thursday, Mousetrap, 93.5, 107.5, and 1070 The Fan.
Hey, it's Big Joe for BetMGM. My betting app for 2021 actually hit a 17 parlay over the weekend and was a Nyheim Hines touchdown away from hitting my 6-leg one-game parlay. If you like to bet, sign up for BetMGM and get your first deposit doubled with Instant Match. Register for BetMGM using the bonus code INSTANTBIGJOE and get your first deposit matched up to $500 in free bets. That's some serious cash for some serious sports action, like the new Pacer season or the NFL playoffs that are going on. All you need to do to get your first deposit matched up to $500 is sign up for BetMGM's app or go to BetMGM.com and use the bonus code INSTANTBIGJOE. BetMGM is going to raise the stakes all year long with innovative parlay selection features, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, and much, much more. No one can match your game except BetMGM. That's why they're the king of sports books. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You got to be over 21 years of age or older to wager. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9 with it.
Set a realistic resolution this new year, like making sure your hair looks like $1 million. That's easy for me. I just go to Lady Jane's in Greenwood on State Road 135, just north of Smith Valley Road. Treat yourself to a haircut, hot lather neck shave, and hot towel treatment from one of our talented stylists. And if that's not enough, you can watch your favorite sports or news on one of our flat screen TVs. This year, make a New Year's resolution that you can actually keep. Lady Jane's in Greenwood on State Road 135, just north of Smith Valley Road. It's wicked awesome.
The Pacers return home to face the Houston Rockets tomorrow evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Look at all those ding-dongs.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Here we go.
How's over there? I'm John. Final time today. Thank you for joining us. Greg Rakestraw earlier, Sam Monson, Pro Football Focus, and Jeremiah Johnson of Fox Sports Indiana in a little bit earlier. Podcast for each, 1075thefan.com. I mentioned Mousetrap with us coming up on Thursday for our Larceny Locks and Luna Azul shots. Friday, Bud Light Blue Friday. I'm going to have prizes for you. All kinds of gear. Now, normally we do a Bud Light Blue Friday and we have tickets. Alas, we don't have tickets for the game in Buffalo, but we will have prizes. And on Friday, Bud Light Blue Friday, will come to you live from Twin Peaks up in Castleton on the northeast side. So Twin Peaks on Friday, and our first time at the Mousetrap on North Keystone. I cannot wait to do that. And I'd advise you to, anywhere on the near north side, whatever, stop by and have some drinks with us. The Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila shots. Who ended up winning our fantasy football league? I came in third. Well, I came in second last year, didn't I?
Yeah, you can't get over the hump.
No, I'm consistently on the podium.
I know Brent was in the finals. He didn't win. I have to look to see the
Brent
name
did not win.
Of who won.
Had a good year. I mean, I didn't have a good year. My team was up and down. Yeah, that part sucks. But altogether, man, it was a fun year. It's weird. I was leaning on dudes for the most part that I did not think during the draft I'd be leaning on.
Kyle Brower was the winner this year.
Kyle Brower is the winner of our fantasy league, and you are going to get a party pack courtesy of Brent Halverson at Heaven Hill Distillery coming your way. So be ready for that. Kyle Brower. Outstanding. JMV, I know if you serve as a Banker's Life, and they said the Pacers would have fans but not ready to do the renovations being behind schedule due to the pandemic. Yeah, I was just, Jay Ryan, I was kind of curious about it. I don't altogether know, but I was just kind of curious why you can do that with Disney on Ice and not with an NBA game. Hey, shout out to everybody that was in on the inner workings part of giving the NCAA tournament a boost and a run right here. I think that is outstanding. I wish you guys would have used the Holman Center, but what the hell. Give me a reason to go over to Terre Haute, go to the Ballyhoo. But fingers crossed for fans during that time in March and for that thing to go off fantastically, because the great people around here that are involved are going to make this thing fantastic, as they always do. Kyle, great job out of you today. Greg Rakestraw, Sam Monson, Jeremiah Johnson. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Kevin Bowen tomorrow. DeForest Buckner of the Colts on the show tomorrow. Shout out to Robin Miller, Steve, and Ralph. Becky at Workingman's Friend, a great lunch today. Check out that Robin Miller t-shirt at JMV 1070 on Twitter as well. Back with you at 3 tomorrow. 93.5, 107.5, 1070 The Fan.
Rivers takes a knee, and there it is.
The Colts are in.
And they're headed back to the playoffs.
First up, the wild card round against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Saturday, our coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 1070 The Fan. Then at 11, switch over to 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For the rest of our pregame coverage, Matt Taylor with the call at 105.
10-5, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor.
On your home for Colts football.
Over 200 rushing
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider and are only available if the provider determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. You pay just $30 for a month's supply. And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/real. That's right, free. Zero copay, no expensive appointments, no